Hey.
You know, I thought we were on Zoom and I was waiting for recording in progress. And I was like, I was waiting for the glitch. So me having like the ultra millennial pause was actually on purpose.
There's going to be one day like a thing, like a fun fact where it's like, did you know like millennials who are now 900 years old, their behaviors were all tainted by COVID-19 and all the bullshit they went through. And now they have all these weird tics, like pausing when something starts recording to wait for the little lady to talk. We're going to be so unhinged.
The millennial pauses, I blame Snapchat for that. Or maybe old school Instagram, because that's like when...
What was the Snapchat pause?
Because both of them, when you used to press record, it took a second before it would actually start recording. And so...
Oh my God, you're right.
So that's where I think the millennial pause came from. But the thing that scares me more is the millennial zoom. Like apparently nobody zooms anymore. Like zooms in when you're like telling a video, and then like it gets like really like you get to the climax and then you zoom in on your face.
Wait,
you don't do that anymore. Yeah, that's a no. That's a full fucking no. You might as well be a boomer.
I thought you meant zoom. The zooming the camera. Then
no, zoom when you're recording, like when you're telling a story on your camera.
I thought you meant come on and Zumba, 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 Zumba.
Okay. Well, like I said, you might as well be a boomer.
Hey, don't hate on Zoom. I
won't. I'm just saying the younger kids do.
Come on and Zumba, 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 Zoom.
What is your day looking like today,
3, 4,
Christine?
Send it to Zoom.
I guess we're still talking. I guess we're still singing. Damn.
I'm singing. What are you asking me? What do you want to know?
What's your day been like today? Okay. Oh my God. Okay. Hang on. I'm going to do the millennial pause and make sure that there's like an even space for me to get ready to talk, and then I'll do it. Ready? Christine, what's your day look like today? How has your day been?
Let me zoom in real quick. So wait, that's so embarrassing. I used to zoom all the time on my video.
We all did.
That's probably what. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was gonna say that my day is fine. Thank you for asking. I was awoken at noon, 11:54, by Blaze with a giant cup of coffee, and I was like, "Wow, I've entered a parallel world where everything's great." Yeah, it was because he's been sick for like not 10 days, but like maybe a week or over a week. I don't know. And like so sick that he was not getting out of bed, and I was kind of juggling everything solo, and I think he felt bad about that, even though he didn't have to feel bad about that because he was sick. But today was the first day he felt like 100%. And so I was like, man, back to my dream life of sleeping till noon, getting coffee delivered. So yeah, life's good. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm good. Again, parallel worlds, because I've been waking up without an alarm at 7 a.m.
What?
For days now.
For what?
I honestly don't know. It's some combination of jet lag plus staying up plus it wasn't like I tried for this. It just kind of happened. And now I'm riding the wave until I, fall into my usual.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It won't be forever. I know that. It never has been. But
it's not a phase, Mom.
While it's here, I've been waking up watching the sunrise. I've been eating
like the
healthy
smog
breakfast
behind the smog.
Yeah. Darker smog is becoming lighter smog. I have been drinking a lot of water and drinking smoothies. I ate oatmeal today. I got work done before we recorded.
What?
It's like the Twilight Zone.
No, and I feel weird now. I feel uncomfortable.
I do too, to be fair. I'm like, I wish I miss the days, and by days I mean like last week, when I would wake up at 10:58 and we would start recording at 11. That's my norm.
I'll be honest, like I was so excited because I texted you, "Oh, sorry guys, I need 5 minutes. I lost track of time." And I was like, look at me giving M 5 minutes to sleep. And no, you were working and I was rolling around in my bed like
like Humpty Dumpty. Well, usually when I see
were you there? Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, that explains it.
I usually when you text and say, "Oh, can I have 5 more minutes?" I'm like, "Oh, she's a goddamn queen." I'm like,
Listen. I love to sprinkle around my generosity. I'm just kidding.
Every now and then I like to pretend that we actually were going to record at 10, but then you had to make us wait until 11. And so then I'm like, oh, thank God.
That's literally how my brain works too. I'm glad that we're both so equally unwell. Except for now, apparently I'm threatened by all of your like developments, your healthy developments.
You've had a lifetime of this. Let me have 3 days before it spirals.
I'm very happy for you. And I'm proud of you. That's awesome. And you know what I just realized, speaking of like healthy things and non-healthy things, I realized I had a reason I drink this week specifically.
Oh.
And it's because it's finally happening, Em.
What?
I have a bunion.
Oh, well, join the club. I think I have a bunion. I don't know. I got something going on, but I don't know what it is.
Okay. I thought you were going to just call me the Crypt Keeper again and go on a whole thing about how old I am.
No, I don't know the difference between all the feet things, but I do know my great grandma had bunions. And one of the last conversations she had with my aunt was, when I go, you'll probably be next to get my bunions. And then
what they're like passed down in the will.
Well, then lo and behold, like a week later, my aunt started getting bunions. So I'm just like waiting for the day that it's my turn. But I've got a bump on the bottom of my foot that's never gone away. And it
Where on
like
your foot?
The middle. The palm.
No. A bunion is like where your big toe, like this bone where your big toe is, and your big toe starts to lean inward, and
I don't have that.
The bone kind of juts out.
Oh no, mine are straight as an arrow. They're the only straight thing about me.
It's
You know what I've got a problem with my toes though? I have fucking caveman toes. I've got like that big old thumb. Could use my toe as a hammer toe. You know?
Ew.
I know.
Well,
but
even
she's sturdy. I can stand real good on her.
Do you have hand, foot, and mouth again? Because you did have that. So that was
no. This bump has been here for years. I think it's like, is it a corn? Is that what it's called?
Maybe, or a wart. I don't know. But okay.
No, whatever. Okay,
Let
tell
me
me
talk
about
about
your
bunion. Okay, so I knew my mom always had. I didn't know what they were called, but I knew my mom always had that pain in her foot, and she has all sorts of foot and ankle issues. She was run over by a motorcycle one time. It's a long story, but so she has these like bones sticking, and so, but they often happen because people wear like high heels, or a lot, and that's how it often happens. And sometimes you have to get them like surgically corrected.
Deirdre had that. She had to get them removed.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So I certainly have never. I wore high heels like 2 times in my life, and I fell both times. So like that is not my issue. I don't know why the universe has bestowed this upon me, but it hurts like a bitch. And
does it really hurt? Is it just because you
really
can feel
hurts.
your toe shifting?
No,
places?
It's like the bone like shifts outward, so it's like just really. I don't know, but this is what I've become. On Black Friday,
here we go.
I went on to drscholes.com and bought a bunion corrector for 30% off.
Bunion corrector? That sounds like you're like a brace for your toe.
It is.
Oh, okay. Well, so at
you
least it's...
put it on your toe, and then it's overnight. You sleep with it on, and it like pulls your toe out.
Does it hurt?
Yes.
Oh. If it's gonna hurt either way, you might as well just like.
No, it hurts. You know when something hurts like in a good way, where you're like, okay, it's like correcting itself.
Oh yeah.
Is that a thing that everybody else understands, or is it okay?
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, it's just like okay, it's the right direction now.
But does it? I mean, is it like only temporary, or can it actually like cure it without?
No, I
surgery?
think it can prevent it from getting any worse, because like I guess a bunion is fine. It's not. It's like you can prevent it from getting worse if you catch it on time. But if you do not, here, I'll send you a picture.
Of your own bunion?
No.
Oh, I was gonna say I'll send you a picture of my thing if you send me a picture of your thing.
I'm just showing you like what they look like. It's
Wait,
like
let me send you a picture of my thing.
Okay. See, you can't even see mine. That's the thing. Is like you can't see it. I just feel it.
See, you can see mine, but you can't feel it. For me,
oh,
I can't feel it at all. Hang on.
Now we're just taking feet pics.
I'm in the middle. I'm like, oh my god, is this one sexy or no?
It's Is this wart on my foot sexy? I guess to some people, maybe. I hope the listeners are using their imagination to paint a picture of what's happening.
I feel like it's not even like a good picture.
Well, then I don't want it. Put the ring light on it.
I'm trying. Come on. Okay. I think I got it.
Did you get the picture?
It doesn't even really look that good. Well, whatever. I'll send it to you anyway.
Did you get the picture?
I don't know. I'm sending you mine first, and then I'll see if I got it. Your picture.
That's not my feet.
Those are your. Oh, they're not your feet. Those are not your feet.
Those are old lady. I'm sorry. Those are not my feet.
Jump scare, girl.
I'm
God.
so sorry. It looks like the nail polish that my stepmom had in her cabinet from like 1977. That like pink shiny.
So that's what's happening over time. That's what your feet are gonna look like.
Yeah, that's kind of how it. That's like a bad bunion. So see the picture of the bone though up there.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
It's like curving.
It like curves outward and it hurts like a bitch when you wear like certain shoes. Where is this lump you're talking about?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like mine looks like fucking nothing compared to yours. Okay. It's the little tiny white dot. The little white dot. See him?
Yeah. That just looks like a little callus or a wart. Yeah, that's a wart.
Yeah, it feels like it's I don't know if it's a wart. It feels like a callus inside a layer of my skin so it can't like come out or be like buffed away. Like it feels like a lump of like hard skin.
Weird.
Yeah. Anyway, it's nothing compared to that. So
it's like very painful.
I bet it looks. I mean, it's like. I mean, your bones are bending. So
it's probably it's like it's not great, and so I probably have to see a podiatrist. I can barely get out of the house to go to Walgreens. I don't know how I'm supposed to go see a podiatrist, but like that's what my mom told me to do. So. Anyway, that's why I drink, because I'm old and it's all happening. And I bought Dr. Scholl's on Black Friday. So you know what? That's me. That's the real me, people.
And you can't take that from me. I like her. My aunt has the same little, I don't remember what it's called, but I told my mom about it one time. And she said, not my Seattle aunt, but another aunt has the same thing that I have. And she straight up I mean, this is very her personality. So like, I'm not very surprised, but like she literally carves it out. Like it's like a fucking X-Acto knife and just chisels at her own goddamn foot. And I'm like, I'd rather just have the bump, but thank you.
Yeah, that's sounds like what I would do, but it's certainly not recommended. And also that sounds like a wart because if it keeps regrowing like that.
There's people who like will like try to like get their own ingrown toenails out with like knives and stuff and like cut up their own toes.
Yeah, I do that. Yeah.
Do you?
Oh yeah, I'm like a sicko. I'm of
Does
course
it hurt? It has to hurt. It has to hurt.
It's so dangerous and it's not safe and I do it anyway. But like with like one time I had water in my ear.
Did you put a knife in your ear? What's going on? What are you talking about?
It was the week I met Blaze, and I Googled how to get water out of your ear. And it said, go to the doctor and lie on your side. And
you said, okay, step 2.
I said, none of these are going to work, obviously. So I found another website, and it said to put some lemon juice in there. So I was like, okay, great. So I poured
Is that
lemon
bad?
juice in my
You're
ear.
not supposed to do that?
Well, I don't think so, because all of a sudden I realized, I can't hear at all anymore. Like I literally filled my whole ear with lemon juice, and then it just was full. Like it didn't come out. So then I'm sitting there and I'm texting my new crush Blaze and being like, who's working as an EMT and like driving ambulances all day, and I'm like, I just poured lemon juice in my ear.
Like, that would be the most like psychotic thing of like you just wanted to hang out with them, so you made yourself an EMT victim or a patient or whatever.
Yeah, I said I called his, and he drove an ambulance like 4 senior citizen homes, so I would have had to like call his company and be like, come get me. And so then I Googled how to get lemon juice out of your ear, and it said put hydrogen peroxide in your ear. So I said, okay. So I poured hydrogen peroxide in my ear. It's not funny,
class.
and I know like Blaze does
like
not like when I talk
class.
about this. It like really upsets him because he's like, this is so bad, and like you really could have screwed up your hearing forever.
And not only your hearing, but like that's your hearing is pretty damn close to your brain. Like you could have just put a bunch of lemon juice in your brain. Are you actually allowed to put hydrogen peroxide in your ear? Because it like volcanoes,
you're not
right?
supposed to put shit in. You're not even supposed to put a Q-tip in your ear. Like you're literally not. And I'm sitting here pouring, so I'm like pouring. And you know, at my mom's, they had those little paper cups for brushing your teeth. I was living at my mom's, so I like filled those with lemon juice and hydrogen peroxide, and then I poured them in my ear, and then
God, I can feel it.
My ear, I couldn't hear. It was like the most. It wasn't like, you know, when you get a lot of water and it's like pretty, or an earplug. It was like worse. Like I genuinely, you could like set off a firework next to this ear. I could hear nothing, and I'm like, cool. I've totally destroyed my hearing, and I'm like really making, like, I'm one of those people who, when I do something and I try to correct it, I then just make it worse and worse. Like I just keep digging the hole deeper. Like I don't know. It's hard for me to get out of that self-defeating cycle. So then my mom had to take me to the urgent care. And so then we went to the urgent care, and we didn't realize it was Indigenous Peoples Day, back then still considered Columbus Day. And so we got there, and we like walk in the urgent care, and there's like nobody there. And we're like, that's weird. So then we walk around, we're like ringing the bell. I'm like calling their number. Nobody's there. And we're like, that's weird. So then like we get the nerve to like open the door to the back, and we start wandering through the urgent care, and we're like, hello, is anybody here? I checked the fridge. Someone had brought baby carrots to lunch, and I was like, boring.
Put those in your ear.
And then okay, that probably would have been safer, honestly. And then we wander around, nobody's there. Eventually we find a security guard outside, and he's like, oh shit, the morning guy wasn't supposed to unlock the door. They're off work today. And he's like, don't go anywhere in there. And we're like, we would never go into the fridge and look at what they're bringing for lunch.
What? I can't hear you. Yeah.
What? Sure, yeah, whatever you say. Anyway, I forget what happened, but I eventually obviously repaired it. And
Did
I
it
also
just go
was
away on its own, you think? Or was like,
no, I had to go get like I think I had to go to an ear, nose, throat and like get it fixed. It was very bad. You guys do not follow. I know this is so duh and everyone knows this, but don't like follow medical advice on medical quote unquote advice from the internet. Don't cut out your ingrown toenails or your warts. Don't pour lemon juice in your ear. I know that this is a controversial statement, but don't do it.
I feel like
that's my PSA.
As soon as the doctors say like, "Oh, Leona has an ear infection," Blaze is going to grab her like it's up, like she's $1 million, and she's going to go, "I got it.
Yeah,
don't come near her."
Okay. Also, what we do in my family for ear infections is something that really bothers Blaze, because I thought it was normal. Now I need you to know.
Okay.
Tell me if this is normal.
It's not. What?
I was gonna say you can probably already answer that question. So my mother would always microwave an onion, and then, okay, so I'm already getting a vibe that you're like, what are you talking about? Evo, can you weigh in? Is this something your family does, or is this really just like an unhinged thing that my family does?
I think I've understood the rationale of like it could absorb something, like it absorbs
this
the
is
moisture.
absolutely not. Okay, cool. So that's a big no. Okay, so microwave an onion and put it in a hot towel, and then we would like wrap it around your ear. Not a whole onion. I mean, sorry, half an onion.
Right, God forbid. I feel like I understand.
Okay, shut up. I mean, like, because then the onion's actually like, you know, has
open and flat.
Yeah, it's antimicrobial.
I think I
properties.
understand that, like the fumes and the steam and the layers of the onion. Maybe the wives' tale is that it absorbs any moisture left in your ear or something. But no, that's not a normal thing I grew up hearing.
Okay, because Blaze's family loves to say, oh, let's just strap an onion to her head. And I'm like, you guys are so rude, but also it's very funny. And so I get like mad and I laugh at the same time. And then, this is not a joke. I just Googled onion on ear overnight to see like what the internet says, right? The first thing that comes up as the recommended says, This is called ear infection home remedies from everydayhealth.com. One method calls for heating an onion at 450 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 minutes. Then, once it is cool, cut the onion in half and squeeze the juice into a bowl. Put a few drops of the onion juice into your ear.
Shut up! That can't be real.
What is going on? Why does everyone tell you to don't do this?
That's like Madame Zeroni from Holes saying like, "Oh, onions cure everything." Like that's
Find
crazy.
me the onions. Yeah,
I have heard other like home remedies of like you put like Vaseline on your feet and then you put socks on your feet, which like sensory overload. Jesus Christ,
I do that.
I also know about like putting a cup on your head after you've been outside for too long and it like is supposedly like sucks the heat out of you so you don't get sick or something. Like there's like all sorts of. Yeah, it's supposed to like catch the condensation or something.
I like how I'm like, that's insane.
Look, all I know is I didn't experience any of these. I had a mother who was the worst nurse on earth, and she openly says like, anytime my kid was sick, I immediately did not want to be a parent anymore. I didn't want to deal with it.
What did she do?
And so
she just like didn't want to. Like she was like, I don't want to.
She would throw me a 4-pack of Jell-O chocolate pudding. And she would, and when I say throw, I mean she'd open the door, throw it, and then slam the door shut so she didn't catch whatever I had.
That's like fucking, what's it called? Schitt's Creek, when she's like, she like doesn't want to go near her. And she's like, Mommy, I'm sick. And she's like, yes, darling. And like,
truly, like, I can't, like, perfectly taken right out of my childhood. And
it makes sense why you have Lucille Bluth as her contact photo.
Every now and then my mom would scream up, "Are you done being sick?" And then if I said no, she'd be like, "Okay, well, stay up there then." And then
I guess I gotta go
and
buy
then eventually
more pudding packs.
Well, so now Pavlovianly, the only thing that makes me feel better is when I eat chocolate pudding.
Okay, that's actually very sweet. I mean, listen, I don't know if your mom was the worst nurse ever, but my mom put onions on my head that she got out of the microwave. So you know what? Like she thought she was being a great nurse. I don't know.
A searing hot onion taped to your head does sound pretty bad.
Right? It's like, why didn't she buy me a pudding pack? You know? Like, I don't know.
I gotta tell you, the pudding made it worse because it just created more mucus. And then
yuck.
by creating more mucus, I was clearing my throat more, which made me have a sore throat for longer. So it actually is very not good for you.
I will also say the one thing that really used to bother me that my mom would do when we were sick, and by the way, I have like chronic sinusitis or whatever, like I get sinus infections all the time, and as a kid I got them constantly. And the one thing my mom would make us do also is like the metal bowl of boiling hot water, and then you put a towel over your head and you have to just like breathe the steam in. I hated that.
I think that was
that one actually does, I think, work because it's like just steam.
My equivalent to that was just going and standing in a hot shower. The same thing.
Yeah, my mom was like, we're not wasting hot water. You can put your head in this bowl. And I was like, that's okay, cool. Fantastic.
Yeah, we were a Vaseline family. Or not Vaseline family. What was it? A Vapor Rub family.
I love a Vicks Vapor Rub. I still put that on Leona's feet sometimes. I don't know if it does anything. I don't think it does, but it makes her laugh. Well, so, like when she's sick, I mean.
How funny. What a sad game.
She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm fixing you.
I do think I really can only use Vapor Rub when I have like a really stuffy nose and everything because apparently, fun fact for some of you people out there with heart conditions, Sudafed and Mucinex like are bad for you. Like they make give you heart palpitations. And I realized that
Sudafed in it.
Vapor Rub? No.
Oh, I thought you were saying you can only.
Well, I can't take Sudafed or Mucinex for sinus stuff, which is why I rely on Vapor Rub because
understood.
I think I took both of them at one time, which was like big old problem. But all of a sudden I thought I was having like an SVT episode and I was like, what's going on? And apparently, I don't know if this like has to do with SVT. If you're like a heart expert, please weigh in. But ever since COVID, I have a sensitivity to epinephrine and it gives me really bad palpitations. I feel like a panic attack.
Oh, shit.
And I guess Sudafed has that in it or something. So fun fact. Anyway, I guess that's why I drink. I can't take fucking Sudafed.
That is fun. Congratulations.
Thank you.
On all your
and
many
now I'm actually going to
illnesses.
Instacart some pudding today because now I'm in
I
the.
was gonna say, I
I got
think
me a
I'm gonna
hankering.
Instacart one onion, and you can have your pudding, and we'll be healthy for the rest of the year.
It's like our vitamin C. It's like actually just chocolate goop and
Yeah,
also an onion in
yeah.
my ear.
Just let it placebo effect.
I got to tell you, Christine, you really couldn't have segued into my topic better.
Oh, I know.
Because I was told to say all of this. Okay, so I say that because this week, I don't know how people feel. Please weigh in. And by the way, weigh in kindly because I feel like I'm doing something nice. But if you don't like it, I'm open to criticism, but kind criticism. But I'm really digging these 101s because I never knew how to like bring them in as topics. And
No, I love it. I mean, I love it. I don't know what the other people say, but
I like it. But if our audience doesn't like it, I'm happy to change things up. I just thought like, oh, there's so many categories I want to cover, but it's kind of, for me, it feels like my Band-Aid over not knowing how to cover smaller topics. But if I branch out and make them into like bigger concepts, it's easier to talk about it. But so anyway, this is another 101. And because we've been talking about our illnesses and our past illnesses and what we do when we're sick, we are going to talk about the Grim Reaper. So,
gasp.
Which, by the way, we're not really going to talk about the Grim Reaper right away, but we're going to talk about who he is as a concept, which a Grim Reaper is a psychopomp. Did you know that?
No. What's a psychopomp? I've heard that word and I love it, and I have no idea what it is.
So psychopomp is the umbrella term for creatures like the Grim Reaper. So we're going to do a 101 on that, and the Grim Reaper makes a little feature at the end. So, so here we go. I love when you do a little gay scream. Do it again.
Wait, no.
Oh,
that
okay. It sounded
like
more like a crow, but
I think that was a psychopomp, right? I don't know what a psychopomp is.
It was an animal escort to the psychopomp, I think.
It was, it was an animal meeting the Grim Reaper for the first time. Yikes.
Okay. So, a psychopomp. It is spelled psycho and then P-O-M-P. And it is Greek, or it comes from the Greek word psychopompus, which psych or psyche is for soul, mind, spirit. Pompous is for guide, escort, messenger. So it ends up being a literal spirit guide or a soul escort.
I love that.
So I guess when we're saying things like, oh, I'm talking to my spirit guides, technically you're talking to your psychopomps. But I am. Technically, so, yeah. So psychopomps, they are your soul's escort, and they operate in liminal spaces, which, fun fact, liminal comes from the Latin word meaning threshold. So now you've got a soul escort who operates within the threshold of life and death.
Oh my God! All my favorite buzzwords.
I know. I feel like I just
Liminal
typed in every word I could think of. Psycho. So psychopomps appear across many cultures and religions throughout history, but the psychological theory for why they exist, like the Grim Reaper or, a lot of people will say like even like a black dog is an escort and on your way to death. The psychological theory is that psychopomps are imaginary concepts that we've created to help us accept death. And it's a lot like a near-death experience where you all of a sudden see a bunch of stuff that isn't there. It could be your brain, like the chemistry of your brain just going fucking haywire and like you're hallucinating. Or these are concepts that we talk about when we think about death, and to help us reconcile the impossible and the unavoidable, we've come up with guides that are more experienced than us who can help us along the way so we don't feel alone.
Right.
So they're essentially a created comfort. And the guide, or a psychopomp, how do I say it? There's psychopomps, and then there's a subcategory of psychopomps called a sympathetic psychopomp. And sympathetic ones, as stated. They're sympathetic to your situation. They don't take pleasure in...
The other ones are all bitchy or what? Oh, I see.
Like, there's, like, some where, like, the thought these days is a lot of people have different opinions of, like, even the Grim Reaper, where, like, he enjoys bringing you death and he enjoys taking you to hell.
He's, like, looking for victims. Right. Okay.
Yes.
I got you.
Versus a sympathetic psychopomp who takes no pleasure in pain or fear. Sometimes they've even expressed hating their fucking job, being like, look, it's not my fault. Like, I'm an
unpaid intern. I just tried to climb the ladder. I don't know what to tell you.
I took something on Indeed and, like, I ended up here. I don't know.
We'll sign up to a millennia-year contract. I don't know how to get out of this. Oh, it's gotta be tough.
Go drink for ZipRecruiter if you want to be the next Grim Reaper.
They'll be much nicer, I promise. A sympathetic one only.
Sympathetic psychopomps only. But yeah, so they're, I guess, because at least the way I'm understanding it is that psychopomps are sometimes seen as bringing you death or being the reason for death, or you can negotiate your way out of dying and they can do something about it. But sympathetic psychopomps are usually the people who have no control of your death. They just appear after it's already guaranteed and they're going to help you out in this transition. So, so it's not their fault that you're dead. They just, like, have the weird bad job of, like, being the next person you see after it's happened.
Right. Okay.
So sympathetic psychopomps, they're often found in art and literature throughout history, and they've been used forever in different ways for us to demystify death. This is, like, by the way, a major oversimplification. This is 101, not an advanced course. But a lot of people think that they're just creations of our mind to help us figure out, what it will be like when we cross over. But to some people, it's not just this imaginary concept. For some people, the psychopomp is actually a very real being. And the thought, I guess, is that, like, well, if souls are real, it's not a far stretch after that to assume that someone would, be employed to help the souls as they're going from one place to another.
I don't think that's a wild thing to believe at all. Yeah.
I don't think so. I mean, if you believe in souls and you believe that there are multiple places that they go, there's got to be some vehicle that takes them there.
That you go somewhere, then it's not, like, that far fetched to say, and someone helps you get there, right? Like, it's just part of that process.
Or if you don't, what if you're a soul who doesn't know? I mean, I guess you could then have the thought of, like, well, maybe souls inherently know where they're supposed to go and we are just unaware of that. But you could also argue, well, they don't know where to go next. And if they don't have a guide, then maybe that's what makes them wandering souls. And that's how we get hauntings and ghosts, and because someone never came for them,
Creepy.
We could get really, like, trippy deep into it if we'd like, but...
After hours?
After hours? Actually...
Want to trip it out?
I love tripping out with you. Okay, yes. So anyway, a lot of cultures think there must be a guide or an escort to help you figure out your next steps. And one of those, this is my personal favorite, and there's people, is it Scandinavia? Where there are death messengers and psychopomps like Valkyries, which I don't know if you know anything about Valkyries, but I have a personal love for them because there's a Marvel superhero named Valkyrie.
I know about the Marvel thing, vaguely, yeah, but I know that they're also, like, a creature.
And I can tell you with 100% certainty, Christine, that you're in love with Valkyrie. You're in love, like, would leave
my heart
Blaze
just
today.
fluttered. Is that Sudafed, or am I in love with a Valkyrie?
No, it's Tessa Thompson, and she's incredibly masked, but she's, like, so hot. And not Thor Ragnarok. In the last Thor, she kissed a girl on the hand, and then in the Marvels, which just came out last week, it is heavily implied that they're dating. She even kisses Brie Larson's cheek. I lost my goddamn mind. And when she becomes the ruler of Asgard, when Thor decides that he's going to retire, he says, like, oh, you're going to be the queen of Asgard. And she goes, I'm going to be the king of Asgard. Ah! I know. She's so
of course, looked
hot.
it up, and I'm sweating a lot. The
thought of her looking me in the eyes is I mean, there's no faster way to me meeting the Grim Reaper. I would just collapse. So
she's my psychopomp. Okay, am I allowed to choose my psychopomp, or do
like,
I have to
girl,
just wait and see?
Guide me. You know what I'm saying? Like, just wherever you need to take me.
Take me to the king of Ragnarok.
I'd be like, yes, my king. Yes, my king. Okay. Anyway, so
this is embarrassing.
If you'd like to like see a very, very subtle gay undertone in a recent Marvel movie, go watch The Marvels, which by the way was amazing. And she kisses Brie Larson on the cheek, and you know how I feel about Brie Larson, so that was an experience for me.
Well.
Moving on. In Scandinavia, Valkyries are their psychopomps, where Valkyries are, at least in Marvel, they are a fully female army. But they fly down on horses, and they collect other warriors who have died in battle, and they collect the warriors who are worthy of joining them in Valhalla, and they bring them up on their horses and prepare them for any future great battles, and they'll always look over their people.
Wow.
So that's one version of a psychopomp. And then in voodoo, there's a powerful figure named, I think I'm saying this right, I researched, Baron Samedi. And he's this figure who's said to be in a tux and a top hat, and he guards cemeteries and he guides souls to the other side. He's also said to watch over your grave to make sure that nobody uses your body remains for magic, which didn't even think about that, but I'm glad he was on top of it.
No. I respect that, but also, like, immediately no. I don't want a top hat man in a cemetery. It sounds no. I'm sorry, sir, but I'm not really interested in your services. Thank you.
You know, first of all, I feel bad that if his job for eternity is to be in a fucking suit, like, that's awful. But
that's true.
You're right. I don't want someone in a tux watching over me in a graveyard, because if you got to get dirty at some point, like, I need the guy in jeans and a shirt with holes. That's what I want. If he's got to throw his body over mine on a graveyard, like, this other guy's going to be like, oh, this is new, this tux, I just pleated the pants. I don't want to do that, you know?
Oh no, I dropped my cufflink. Let me look through it, through the dirt. It's like, oh man, they just stole my arm for a spell. Thanks a lot.
I appreciate that he's taking his job seriously, but like, I need you to get down and dirty, and it's not showing that.
Okay, the funny part is that is not at all where my head was. My head was more like, oh, this sounds like the Hat Man, like a shadow person, and I'm terrified of it.
Oh.
But also, once you start talking about his shiny shoes, I was like, well, shit, you're right. It's not really ideal workwear either.
Now that you're saying it, we could flip our opinions, because now I don't want the Hat Man standing over me for eternity either. But,
like, how scary.
But you know what? If he's gonna be the Hat Man, maybe I do want him in a tux that he's afraid to get dirty. Maybe that prevents him from getting near me a little too close, you know? I can't decide anymore if I like this or hate this.
Maybe he's that unpaid intern who like shows up with like way overdressed, and the other interns are like, come on, like, you don't need to wear like a tie to work every day. We work at like a reality TV show or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, maybe it's like, we
work on Survivor. Take your top hat off.
We work on Protecting the Cemetery, the TV show.
We work on tux. Naked and Afraid. Take your clothes off.
Oh man, then he'd really stand out. God.
Speaking of which, he reminds me of like that kid that we all knew in high school who like for some reason was always in a 3-piece suit. Like, what was what was going on there?
Like, for what?
It's like, if you wanted attention, you got it, but also if you didn't want attention, you have to figure something out about your clothes.
And it's not good attention, unfortunately. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, it's like, can you imagine having to change out of your sweaty PE clothes and put that back on? Oh my god. Ugh.
Oh Christ. Yeah.
So those are just some examples of psychopomps. I also wanted to bring this in because I think you'd like this. Some psychopomps aren't even human or human-like. One common psychopomp is bees, because they are for some reason said to travel in liminal spaces, and in some cultures, seeing a bee flying by a recently buried body means that the soul is leaving with his bee escort to the next world.
Oh, and then the bee like falls in your apple juice, and you're like, well, shit.
And then you're like, I fucking stung me.
Not again.
Which I like to think is like, if I had one last moment on Earth and you were there, I'd be like, bee escort, fucking stinger. Just see what happens.
Go stinger.
You know?
You know what, fuck you. Also, don't bees die when they sting you? So that would really be unfortunate.
Oh yeah, and then you're like
For you.
really stuck there forever.
For your soul. So yeah, why don't you try it, Em? You have your escort sting me and then you're stuck here forever.
Yeah, never mind. In Western Europe, speaking of the bees, in the 18th and 19th centuries, beekeepers were actually said to be guides for the guides. And beekeepers would inform the bees of important life events. So when they were doing their beekeeping stuff, they would talk to the bees about what's going on in the world. And if someone in their family died, a person had to go tell each of the beehives so that way they could get ready to go help escort the person they love to the other side.
I'm like getting that's like very touching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just another
I
reason
like
to
that.
save the bees, everybody.
Right? I'm like, well, that's not good news for us.
Save the bees, save your soul, you know?
Wow, that's the new, now we'll finally get that change.org petition going.
I'm just saying, if this is true and we get rid of all the bees, then we're all going to have to haunt Earth forever because nobody brought us somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, I know that the other reasons bees are being saved are not nearly as important, but we should finally pay attention.
This is the one I care about for sure.
Yeah.
Also, in parts of Asia, birds have been depicted as psychopomps, I guess because they can travel between spaces. So technically they're a liminal creature because same with birds, that they can be on land or in the sky.
You mean bees, like same as bees?
Yes, same as bees. That they're both, they are, I don't know what the right word is. I feel like there's got to be a word for like, you know how like bipedal.
A flying animal?
Yeah, like I feel like a flying animal should have like a name, like inter-travel or like they can be on land, they can be
aerial animals.
Aerial animals. Like how like there are like some water creatures, like is it amphibians where they can be on the land and in the water?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like those are all considered liminal animals because they can go between two worlds, right?
That's kind of really cool, Em.
So are frogs? Could frogs be Anyway, as long as it's not a goddamn fish, I'm fine. Sometimes, okay, this part is where it gets sad all of a sudden, but then we're going to shift real quick. So just hold on for a second. No. Like, I mean, hold on because it's about to get bad and then it'll be okay. But sometimes humans, because they were so convinced that animals could be helpful escorts.
Oh, no.
They would, often they would create psychopomps out of living creatures, aka they would kill an animal after one of their loved ones recently died to then, I guess, somewhat force this animal to be the escort for the soul. But I think it was supposed to be really kind and sweet of like, oh, our kid just died, so let's kill our pet or something, and then the pet and the kid can be together. You know, it's like
oofa doofa.
Like the very first initial thought was sweet, and then they go like, "Oh no.
Too far,
you know?
too far." Yeah.
So anyway, shifting gears. Now let's talk about one of the first famous psychopomps, which is an Egyptian deity named Anubis. And again, I'm pretty sure I said that right. I looked up several YouTube videos.
I know about Anubis a bit.
Okay, cool. So do you know how to describe him? Do you know what he looks like?
Yeah, he has the body of a human and then the head of, it's either like is it a coyote or it's a
very good, Christine. Well,
is it?
It's a jackal, but you're very close.
Oh, a jackal. Okay.
And he's also known as the god of the dead. So he's not just responsible for the dead, but he's also the god of embalming, burial rituals. He would perform rituals himself while bodies were being prepped. He would guard burial sites. And because of all this, he was also an escort for souls to their next place while protecting them on the journey, because I guess on that journey, your soul could bump into other spirits and things like that. And he's the one that would, I guess, I don't know, tell you like, don't talk to that guy. He's a little fucking crazy, you know?
And then the other guy's like, you have the head of a jackal, okay?
Right.
You're not one to judge.
You're called the god of the dead. Like, wouldn't want to be you.
Okay.
Like,
go off, king.
But so anyway, he would protect you from other spirits on your way to the next place. And after guiding you through this part of the afterlife, Anubis would then take you to your judgment ceremony. I feel like you probably know way more about this stuff than I do, so I'm giving like the most oversimplified version.
I'll be honest, like I learned a lot of it from that rituals episode we did where we talked about.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure it was on rituals, wasn't it? Where we talked about like the Egyptian Book of the Dead and like how you were supposed to learn all of the different trials and tests that you'd be put through in the afterlife. You have to weigh your heart and a feather or something. I don't know. But yeah, I feel like I learned a lot about that from that rituals episode. So that was, all right. I think you hosted that one. So congratulations. You're my ultimate teacher. Yeah.
If you would like a more in-depth version, by the way, please go listen to the rituals episode because this is not the research you're looking for. I'll tell you that. Over there was a whole team of researchers, and here it was me and Saoirse, which love you, Saoirse.
Which is still a good team.
We can't compare to them.
Team. Yeah.
So Anubis would take you through the afterlife, and then he would take you to the judgment ceremony, which is where you would have to confess all of your wrongdoings to 42 judges. And then Anubis would take you to a weighing ceremony, which is you just mentioned. So here is at the weighing ceremony is the goddess of truth, balance, and justice. And she would put your heart on a scale and weigh it next to a feather.
Wow. Okay, I remembered a lot more than I thought. I thought I was just making shit up, but okay, great.
Nope, you nailed it. And also, I remember us having some sort of commentary about like weighing your heart against a feather. But if your soul's heart is balanced with the feather, if it's in balance and light as a feather, then you had a good life. You've got nothing really weighing you down, see? And you would live in peace forever. If you did not confess everything at that judgment ceremony and you had more shit that was on your heart and it was heavier than a feather, then it was fed to Amit, the devourer of the dead. So,
it feels like we go from 0 to 60 so fucking fast. It's like, weigh your heart, you can live happily ever after, or you're the destroyer of worlds. It's like, holy crap.
It's like, wow, we're as light as a feather. Psych, the devourer of the dead is going to come leave you in eternal darkness.
Nice try.
So, and his name's Amit, Ammut. He has the front legs or the front half of a lion. He has the hind legs of a hippo, and he has the head of a crocodile. And I think the three were to represent the three biggest, at the time during ancient Egypt, the three biggest man-eating animals, or the three biggest threats to man.
Wow. Okay.
So that's why he would eat your heart and then leave your soul forever.
Yikes.
So there you go. So that's like a lot of pressure. I am glad I don't have to... that was not the belief pressed on me growing up. That would be too much, I think, for my poor anxiety.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Now there's a more modern belief of this called, I think I'm saying it right, Kemetism. And it's where Anubis is still seen as a psychopomp, but this time he's seen as much more kind and comforting. In my mind, the original version of him didn't seem all that menacing, but I guess this is an even more comforting version of him. At some point in history, there are some people who actually combined Anubis with the Greek psychopomp Hermes. So they ended up becoming their own mishmashed figure with each other, which they're both protectors of souls and messengers, right? Hermes is the god of messengers.
Yeah.
So it made sense why they kind of got morphed into one. But
yeah, I mean, even earlier when you were talking about how they can be sympathetic, my thought was, don't shoot the messenger. You know, they're just there to like guide you. So that does, it weirdly fits.
Yeah, it makes sense if just different cultures have a protector of beings, you know, just trying to get from one place to another. So why wouldn't you just kind of accidentally conflate them over time?
Yeah.
Hermes, which as many of us millennials probably know as
it's
the
pronounced
one with
Hermes.
You know what? Don't even fuck with me because I was like, I know it's Hermes because I watched Hercules, but Hermes, I have only ever heard the Kardashians say that word, so I know that they're different things.
I like how I said it, and then I was like, is that even how you say it? I don't fucking know. I'm like, I have no clue.
That's the fashion company, right?
Yeah, it's the
purse company?
luxury brand, yeah.
Yeah, I would not know anything about that.
Yeah, me neither.
Hermes. But yes, I know it as the little blue guy in Hercules with the wings on his ankles.
Gotta love him.
Gotta love him. He gave me a lot of like nerdy dad. Actually, he reminded me a lot of Tim. Maybe we should go back and watch that.
Oh my god!
Can you go Google image him? Because he reminds me in my memory.
Like my stepdad?
Yeah.
Oh, let me look it up. Hermes from Hercules. I like how I like how I'm like, Google, don't worry, I'm not Googling Hermes scarves, and Google's like, we know, we have your search history. Oh my god.
Does he look like Tim?
Yes. But like in like a very like rude way. Like I don't think Tim looks as like they have the same energy.
It does look like a caricature of him.
Yeah, it looks like a caricature. And like his face isn't quite so weird.
It looks like a cartoon, like an overdone cartoon
like a
version
weirdly animated version. Yeah.
Anyway, sure. I meant that with love, but it does kind of actually match.
I see it. Yes.
I don't mean to give him a complex now, but
I think he'll be okay because he's a stepdad and I feel like he's used to this kind of bullshit.
This guy does kind of look like nerdy stepdad, you know, like in a good way.
100%. Yeah.
He looks like he collects trains in the basement and knows the perfect route to all the Halloween houses. So excuse me.
So sue me. Now you're like getting defensive.
Okay, so besides those roles,
he looks like he knows how to insulate a basement window. Okay, so
exactly.
Let's go for it.
So, he looks like he would be in love with women named Renata. I don't know what to tell you.
Oh, well, that's a given.
I need Renata to look up that picture and tell me if she's just like head over heels for this
how
cartoon.
How are you feeling? Does this?
Is there a tingling?
Mind racing?
Yeah.
Normal thing to ask my mother. Yeah.
She's not my mom. I'll ask her. Renata, what's going on? What's shaking?
That you're right. That makes it much more normal of a question. Yeah.
Anyway, he's conflated a lot with Anubis. For people who don't know about Hermes, he's has a lot of roles, which that seems to be kind of the vibe with Greek mythology. It's like never just like the god of one fucking thing.
Some multitaskers.
And not like, and maybe there's a connection I'm missing, but I feel like a lot of the Greek gods, their roles were not even, they didn't even make sense next to each other. It was like, oh, I'm the god of electricity and I'm also the god of Legos. It's like, what the fuck? Like, they didn't make sense together in my head. So anyway, Hermes, he was known most as the god, the messenger god, or the protector of messengers when they were on their travels. But he was also in charge of like livestock and merchants, and he was the god of shepherds, which I guess in some way they kind of overlap, but it's quite a stretch in my brain to get there. This over time, particularly him being a protector of messengers on their travels, that morphed into him being a soul guide or a soul escort because he was a guide for the dead trying to send messages.
That makes sense.
Messages. Am I okay?
Messages.
Shut up. My brain truly is unwell. Messages. I heard it. I knew it was wrong, but I didn't know how.
You nailed it.
So, apparently, I didn't know this, but this feels like a Christian thing. I guess sheep and livestock in general became associated with the human soul. Is that like when Jesus is called the Lamb or something?
The Lamb of God, and then like you're shepherded. That's probably why, because like you as a shepherd, the whole idea is like Jesus is a shepherd and shepherds you to heaven. So that would make sense why a messenger or like a companion would be a shepherd. Yeah, that makes sense.
So my next note is he especially became known as a guide for the dead when sheep became associated with the human soul because he was the god of messengers. I can't do it. And of sheep. So
and
it's just like
right. That makes sense.
They ended up overlapping later.
Yeah.
He was known to escort souls to the River of Styx, which I've never actually covered that in depth, but I would like to.
Yeah, I would love that.
And this is, so he would get you to the River of Styx, and then he would get passed off to another psychopomp, and his name was Karen. Literally Karen.
Oh,
I don't even want to know. It just feels like the challenges are getting steeper. But
for real.
So the River of Styx was because water is seen as a liminal space a lot of times. In the Greek underworld, the River of Styx splits the living from the dead. It's the river between the living and the dead.
Okay.
Karen's duty was to get your soul across the River of Styx. So Hermes doesn't have to cross you. He just gets you to the river, and then Karen brings you across.
I see. And that's pronounced Karen? I don't know why. I thought it was... Oh, yeah.
It's with hard K, but it looks like Sharon.
How do you spell it?
Sharon with a C. Sharon.
Oh, okay. Wow. Karen.
But it's Karen.
Wow.
I hope I'm just doing that right, but look, every video I saw said Karen.
And listen, I think I've just never said it out loud.
The comedy writes itself. Yeah. So.
It does. Wow.
So, fun fact. By the way, even if it's not pronounced Karen, this right here gives some fucking Karen energy because she, and it's she, I think it's a he, but I hear Karen, I'm like, okay, girl.
I literally just Googled the name and it was like depicted as a shriveled old man. So,
well, that'll do it. So, Karen is, the whole thing is Karen's going to get you across the river. But Karen doesn't do it for free. Karen's like, I need to make this even worse for you. So
is that why you put those on your eyes?
What?
Coins? Coins?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
look at you.
I'm telling you, I know I said it before. I just love it. Fascinating.
So it is customary, or it was customary for a long time, maybe in some other spaces, that when someone dies, their loved ones will bury their body with a coin either in their hand, in their mouth, on their eyes, a coin somewhere on them. So that way when the soul leaves, the soul has these coins to put in their little soul pocket and gives to Karen as a toll.
Right.
Their fairy
toll.
That is
Karen energy. It's like, yeah, but for a price. I don't do this for free. Like, okay.
And also, like, I don't think you can go backwards once you've already gotten to, like, as far as the River of Styx. So, like...
Good point.
It's like going to like the movie theater and forgetting your cash, and it's like, well, go home because you're not going to watch a movie.
Sit in the hallway. Yeah,
sit
like
in the
now
hallway.
What? Wow. Well, everyone else we've already determined is an unpaid intern, and then Karen shows up and is like, gimme. Like, jeez.
She wasn't going to stand for it. She said, not in this economy. Absolutely not.
Not in this economy.
So if you don't pay Karen... It is one of the thoughts is that you now haunt the river for 100 years before you can cross yourself.
Oh, no.
Which, like, are you kidding me? Like, in that case, can one soul bring extra coins? And then that way, when you get to the River Styx, you can, like, someone else can bum a ride?
Take a penny, leave a penny.
Yeah. Just dump a bunch on the floor. Let people, like, if they need them, they got them.
That now explains why they need people guarding the cemetery and the bodies, because
all the damn coins.
Don't take my damn coin because I got to get on that boat.
Well, this is where
you got to pay the Karen toll to get across that.
You got to pay the. What is it? You got to pay the.
I'm
thinking of the cheese tax
to get in. The cheese tax. You got to pay the troll toll to get inside that boy's soul
hole. Gross. Anyway. Here we now talk about our personal favorite psychopomp, the best known and the best of the West, as I'm going to say, the best known in Western culture, the Grim Reaper.
Yes.
Best of the West. He is a skeleton in black robes carrying a scythe. And we get this image of the Grim Reaper, or honestly, he's so popular now that people just call him Death. He's been around since the 13th century when there was a story of 3 men who found animated corpses, like just fucking still alive, just dancing around. And these corpses there were 3 men. Allegedly, there were 3 corpses. And I guess they were either ancestors of the men, or other stories say that these were their future bodies. And it scared them so much it made them want to embrace life. The art based on this story started coming out. People started making paintings of the story, blah, 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 blah. And the first known piece shows animated skeletons, and they were the first to represent death as a being. So that's where we get the skeleton. Then in the 14th century, there were a bunch of Italian frescoes that started depicting death as a figure carrying a scythe. So that's where we get the scythe.
Okay.
And soon after these frescoes were painted, Italy came face to face with the bubonic plague or Black Death, which took out, the number is a crazy wide range, but there are some that say 20%, some say all the way up to 65% of Europe was wiped out.
Jeez.
Which I did look up. Not that I thought that we were anywhere near this, but just to give people kind of an understanding of COVID. I never thought COVID was as bad, so I don't want people to think that was where my head went. But since COVID began, it's estimated by the World Health Organization that 3 million people died in the world.
Okay. And what was the number for
the bubonic plague?
Yeah.
They say somewhere up to 200 million.
Oy. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So
wow.
The number goes up to 200. It's like between 100 and 200, but it's fucking COVID who, you know? So like
Jesus.
It was a big deal. More than half of the just Europe alone was wiped out.
I mean, it's probably like, this is probably going to sound fucking ignorant as shit, but like considering now we had ways of understanding disease and medicine and vaccines, like no wonder it was so much higher back then, you know? Like we were lucky to be able to.
Oh, I've thought that too. It's like if it were, you know, the 14th century.
Right, it's probably a really similar concept. Yeah.
I can't imagine. I mean, I don't know anything about this, so I am blindly just so ignorantly giving a statement here. But I feel like if with all of the hard work people put into COVID and 3 million people still died, if we didn't have any of the resources we had, I would imagine it could have gotten up to at least 10 million people. But I also don't know.
I mean, I'm sure there are like actual estimations too. I'm sure people have
someone's done
the actual research on this. But yeah, it's kind of scary to think about. Like, thankfully, we were able to, you know, just stop it where it, well, not stopped completely, but you know, at least prevent it from getting that bad.
A lot of us did what we could. That's that's how we can get it.
That's a good point.
But anyway, that was, I mean, beyond significant and jarring for people of that time.
Sure.
And in the face of such monumental loss, and this was right after those Italian frescoes came out that were really popularized of death carrying a scythe and being a skeleton. So in the face of such monumental loss, people were now forced to reconcile with the likeliness of them dying at any moment. So people started making a lot of art and writing a lot of literature about death. Figures of death became very popular in folklore. And it was just escorts coming to you to bring you to death or bring you somewhere after your death was just incredibly popular.
Wow. And
one example of all sorts of cultures just creating new lore after the plague is in Norway. There was a story of like people often see an old woman with a broom, and if she comes to your house and she sweeps the porch, then everyone in the house will die. Or
no.
Another one is if she knocks on the door with her broom handle, however many times she knocked is how many people in the house will die.
Oh, God.
Another type of lore that people started spreading was that people would see ghostly kids walking from house to house and cursing those living there with the plague. So if you saw these little kids, you might get the plague. But that probably actually had some truth to it because there were a lot of orphaned kids looking for food and shelter. And if they were carrying the sickness from their parents who just died, they might accidentally be bringing the plague to your home. So there was some truth rooted in a lot of the stories that came out of it. But there was also one cautionary tale that came out of, I think it was a newspaper article. I think it was. But there was one man who claimed to see a man with a scythe riding over the water, mountains and valleys, and where he rode by, the plague followed after and did its work. So this was the beginning of a rumor or a story that kind of snowballed, and it was no longer the Grim Reaper or whatever psychopomp you are aware of. They're not coming to find you after you've already died. This story now suggests they're bringing the death with them.
Right. Okay.
So this is the beginning of the Grim Reaper and all psychopomps being like the reason you die.
Like a bad guy.
A bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
Art started depicting death as a singular figure collecting souls with his weapon. A lot of people said that the weapon of choice was a scythe, because scythe suggests that the dead had reached the end of their growth and it was time to harvest them into something new.
Oh, I just got goose cam.
So another example is like with grass, you cut it with a scythe because its time is up and it becomes hay.
And it becomes hay and then there's new growth.
And there's the circle of life.
Ooh. By the way, just side note real quick. A couple people I've noticed asked, what the hell is goose cam? Like, I can't find they say it all the time. And I'm like, it happened in one episode. And I feel like if you missed that episode, then like you have no idea what the fuck is going on. It's kind of how we say, because we were recording for one of the first times and we both shouted goose cam at the same time because we both had goosebumps and we were trying to show the camera. So I've just seen a few of those messages and I've not been able to respond, not had the time to respond. So if you are one of those people being like, what the fuck are they saying?
Yeah,
saying, like,
it's just goosebumps, but on camera.
On camera. It's just stupid. I don't know. But it got so in our heads that we can't stop saying it. So
it's just another word for it now at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, glad you got some goose cam this episode because I always wondered why he was known to carry a scythe, and I had no idea that it was representative of the harvest of life.
To me, no, it never occurred to me. That's really cool.
Honestly, nowadays, if I see a scythe in real life, which, like, by the way, almost never happens, but I wouldn't even know what it was actually for. I just assume it's for death.
You're like, oh shit.
I'm like, uh-oh. So anyway, now the idea of the psychopomp in general is this skeleton holding a scythe, and he's bringing death to you. He's not just coming to escort you to the afterlife.
Okay.
But in 1847 is the first time we get his name, the Grim Reaper.
In what year? Sorry.
1847.
Oh, wow. So he went a long time without a name or without an official name.
He went a long old time. They just thought like, oh, that guy. That fucking guy
can't. That fucking guy. Yeah.
It's like, who invited him? He just keeps showing up. So he appeared in a devotional text. And it was originally in German, but it got translated to English, and the English translation became the Grim Reaper.
Oh.
Grim because it means uninviting, bleak, and dreadful, and reap because it means to cut and gather a crop for harvest.
Yeah, makes total sense.
Mm-hmm. And
it's a very catchy name, Grim Reaper. Like, ugh.
You know, my favorite thing, especially in the more recent Marvel stuff, is that the characters aren't starting out with their superhero name. It's like you're getting to see the origin of how they even got their name.
Oh, I like that.
And like there's actually in the Marvels.
Are you trying to get in my head? I feel
only
like
for the Marvels because I loved it so much.
Okay, fine.
Including actually an example is in the Marvels. There's one, oh my God, I'm so in love with her. Her name in real life is Tiana Paris, and she plays Photon. But in the most recent movie, she doesn't have her superhero name yet. And there's a whole running bit throughout the movie of like, what are we going to call you? What are we going to call you? What are we going to call you? So imagine being the Grim Reaper and you're like, eventually I have to have a fucking name. And then they pick Grim Reaper and either you're for it or you fucking hate it so much.
It doesn't matter because you're stuck with it, baby.
Yeah, it's like at least kind of badass. If you had to wait centuries for the name, it's not the worst one.
By the way, when I was Googling Tiana Paris, my computer was like, oh, we know what you're Googling. And I was like, how do they know that? And then I was like, oh, because I've Googled it every time you've said like, oh, I'm in love with her. And I'm like, oh, right. I've Googled her many times because every time you mention her, I Google her. And I'm like, yeah, it's
truly in love. I don't think I know a more beautiful
unbelievably
woman.
Beautiful.
It's just unfair. She had to have like agreed to a curse or something.
Yeah.
There's no goddamn reason someone should look like that naturally. It's crazy.
Not fair.
And plus that's the same movie that Valkyrie kisses Brie Larson. Like,
I know,
it's like
and that's
literally,
what I'm like, you're clearly getting in my head, okay? I see it happening and I can't do anything to stop it.
And you know what? As you should. That's exactly right. So, okay. So anyway, so now that's how we get the name Grim Reaper from 1847. Unlike earlier psychopomps, who were just only escorts, now that he's got the name on top of everything else. I mean, the name Grim Reaper certainly doesn't help his reputation. He's now known as like not just your escort, but the killer, the one who comes to take your life before he escorts it somewhere.
Right.
But as the plague kind of faded away and it died down a little bit, the depictions of death became nicer because it wasn't during such a heightened time. So the Grim Reaper eventually becomes more of a sympathetic psychopomp like the rest of them. And Death, as he was also known, is seen as especially kind to being an escort when it comes to certain types of people. So like if you're a young mother or if you're a child, he's not just like this evil thing that's coming after people. He was kind of depicted as like he's understanding and empathetic to people who need him to be. So if you're a grown-ass adult with no kids, I guess fuck you. But
yeah, fuck you.
Know,
you're getting scythed.
I did want to mention it just because these are my notes, so why not? In the 20th and 21st centuries, the Grim Reaper then ends up popping up in a lot of popular fiction. My personal favorite is The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. I don't know if you ever watched that. Did you ever watch that? That was a
cartoon.
That was a great show.
I don't think I really ever watched it much, but I remember I feel like I always thought, I should watch that.
Christine, I actually think even in today, I think you would still love it. Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. Okay. I'm literally bookmarking it right now.
And they're really short. I think they do like, it's one of those like SpongeBob things where it's 2 episodes per episode or something.
Oh, love it.
But they're like little shorts. But it's the Grim Reaper. And he's, I don't know how, but he's somehow assigned to these 2 children. It's kind of like Fairly Odd Parents, but...
Yes, yeah.
Like, he doesn't ever actually escort them anywhere, but they're supposed to, like, I think, help him escort other people.
Right, and they go on many wacky adventures.
Yes, but one of the kids is a total idiot. One of them is, like, just a massive bitch. Like, just, like, so awful. She's so mean.
Excited.
When I was a kid, I was so intimidated by her, and I was always afraid I'd meet someone like her in real life.
Oh, no! You're like the Grim Reaper, take him or leave him, but this little girl is scary.
Truly not, and I can't remember, but my childhood memory of it is that even the Grim Reaper was scared of her. So like, it was like
okay, that explains a lot.
Anyway, I'm definitely gonna go watch it after this because it was.
I'm gonna watch it too.
It's so good. I remember it being so good, at least. Okay, so then the last thing I'm gonna say before it's your turn is that in the world of religion, although there's no official angel of death in the Bible, it has become a popular Christian belief that certain archangels escort the dead to heaven, or personal guardian angels are assigned to us. In Islam's Quran, there's a reference to a psychopomp where it says, "The angel of death who has been charged with your souls shall gather you, and then you shall be brought back to your Lord." Okay. So there's at least a mention there. And then many people in general just kind of have associated psychopomps without actually knowing the word for it with their own loved ones. I mean, me included, where you just think that like, oh, when you die, the people you love are going to help you over to the other side. So in that way, we've created our own belief that psychopomps are just people who love us.
Oh, I like that.
And I don't know if that's more of a Western culture thing or I don't know what it is, but it's the way I grew up, at least, where it was some vague understanding that people who you loved who died before you are next to you at all times. And it's also been told over and over again with people with near-death experiences that they like see their mom or they see their grandparents like waiting for them. And
yeah, I feel like I've even recently listened to some podcast episodes that featured people who do work in hospice or do are death doulas, and I feel like one of the resounding patterns that I notice is that people tend to, on their deathbed, tend to see like past loved ones. It seems to be a very common thing being reported. So I really like that idea with this topic because it makes psychopomps not feel like this like big like overwhelming topic. It's like they're people who we love could be that too. More approachable or more digestible, easily
more
digestible.
Relatable. And then the last thing I wanted to say, which feels a little bit like a plot twist to me, is that there are some cultures who don't see others as the psychopomps, but see ourselves as the psychopomps.
Oh,
including things like Dia de los Muertos, where we invite the loved ones back home. A lot of people will lay bright flowers and incense and candles to guide the dead home. So that makes us the psychopomps, to have them, to be able to get them to cross over back to the other side for a day.
Wow, that's kind of beautiful.
Yeah. So everyone can be a psychopomp. I could be a psychopomp. You could be a psychopomp.
That's why I installed a mirror above my bed. I'm like, you know what? I'd like to invite all the spirits.
What a fun tie-in to last week's episode with mirrors, because depending on which direction you're going in the mirror, everyone's a psychopomp. Either you're taking me or I'm taking you.
If you're not putting sheets all over the mirrors and reflective surfaces, you're a psychopomp, my friend. Sorry to say it.
Or a psychopath, for sure.
Or a psychopath, or both. They are not mutually exclusive.
And that is psychopomps.
Oh, wow, that was cool. I don't think I ever knew what a psychopomp was, or at least I
never heard the word.
Oh, really?
Heard the word.
I definitely heard it, but I just was like, wow, that sounds intimidating. So I'm not going to know. I just don't know.
And little did you know, maybe you were the psychopomp all along.
That is the most beautiful thing you've ever said to me.
Maybe it's all about the psychopomps we meet along the way, you know?
Wow. We were the psychopath. Okay, I need to stop. We were the psychopaths all along. Okay.
What?
I have one of the weirdest stories ever today.
I'm so excited.
It's a mystery, and it's like much more lighthearted than literally every other story I've covered, but it's still a creepy mystery. So I'd like your input, and I'm curious because it does, touch on more of your. It like kind of is a gray area between your and my topics a little bit. Like it's sort of kind of, some people stretch it into the paranormal space. So I wonder if you've heard of it. It is the disappearance of Steven Kubacki.
Not even a little bit.
Okay. Wow. Wow.
I do wonder a lot of times, like when it comes to you telling a mystery or like some like, I always wonder, at what point are you going to give up and you're just going to start reporting on things like Clifford the big red dog and his missing bone? And it's like, I guess that is a crime.
Today's the day. A crime is a crime, okay?
A crime is a crime is a crime, Clifford, okay?
Oh, Clifford. My pal. All right, this is the disappearance of Steven Kubacki. I'm so curious to hear your thoughts on this, okay? So I'm just going to jump right in.
Okay.
So Steven Kubacki was born in 1954 in Chicopee, Massachusetts, which at the time had about roughly 50,000 residents. When Steven was 6 years old, his family moved to South Deerfield, Massachusetts, and that's where he grew up. His mom worked as a secretary at the University of Massachusetts. His dad worked at a tire factory. They were pretty lower middle class, like just your classic modest family in Massachusetts, like pretty standard American fare. And around middle school, Steven found out about a high school nearby called it was not called the Exclusive, but it is an exclusive school called the Deerfield Academy Preparatory School, which sounds like something out of a cartoon.
Sure does.
Deerfield Academy Preparatory School. And just for shits and gigs, he decides to apply. So he does. This sounds like something M would do, by the way. He does. And he gets in and he's like, oh, okay, I guess I go here now.
That's how I got into Boston University. Thank you so much.
I mean, literally, it's such an M thing. Meanwhile, I'm over there like obsessively researching every like footnote on the website and like copy and pasting it into a document like a lunatic.
When my mom found out, because we did the like orientation or whatever, my mom came with me, and they said that only 15 people get into the program every year. My mom looked me dead in the eyes and went, "How the fuck did you pull that?" And I went, "I don't know.
In front of everyone.
I was like, I really didn't see this coming either. I really didn't expect us to be in Boston this year, but here we are.
Maybe I got in and then the universe was like, or maybe I was like so dead set on going and like so dedicated to my application that the universe was like, all right, we got to push M there too so that they get this podcast started in a few years. And then you were like, I guess I'll write my name down. And they were like, shit, we got to get M into this program.
I was like, all I got to do is bat these brown eyes of mine and just see where it takes me.
It worked. Honestly, embarrassing for me that I worked so hard to get in. But man, boy, am I glad those big brown eyes did the trick, you know?
Yeah. Baby browns.
Those baby browns. So in any case, he gets into this exclusive Deerfield Academy preparatory school. And he suddenly finds himself at this like prestigious school that rarely but occasionally admitted low income students like him. So most students were wealthy. Most of them were actually even legacy, like,
Oh, wow.
generations who had gone there. And so he graduated from there, but he has just since described himself as somewhat rebellious and like skipping class and stuff. So he wasn't like dedicated to his schooling there. He just
Is this
happened
just a story about me? What's going on?
you. I think it is. I know. Every time I'm saying something out loud, I'm like, oh boy, here we go again. Then it kind of changes because then he went to a Christian college called Hope College in Michigan in 1972.
Well-
But while he's there, his studies are like kind of all over the place. He's pretty scattered. He changed his major several times. Now we're getting back to M again. Changed his major.
This kid has ADHD. I just know it. I just know it.
Hardcore.
I just know it. He's got a ukulele in the corner. He claims he's going to sell some electronics next week. I don't know.
He's
not
one
gonna
of those things, those sweaters you had that had all the weird stripes. What were those things?
Yeah.
Those like fucking college kid sweaters.
Oh, they're called Bajas. Yeah, I truly lived in mine. My entire college closet was about 20 different Baja sweatshirts.
I feel like
and
any
nothing
college
else.
picture I've seen of you, you're wearing one of those. Yeah.
Yeah, I was totally. I mean, obviously, I was friends with all the stoners and the partiers and the not go to schoolers and the stay up till 3 a.m.ers. So,
And the sororities and the
and
fraternities.
then somehow in a sorority,
all over the place.
although, well, how I got into the sorority is an interesting story, but that's for another day.
Oh, you did it to me now. Okay, great. Well, I'll be awaiting that for a future listener episode. So he's not super focused. He changes his major several times. In 1974, he decides to go to Germany for a year and study at the University of Freiburg, where he studied psychology and even parapsychology.
Literally, what is going on?
What is going on? And that is the study of mental phenomena which are excluded from or inexplicable by orthodox scientific psychology, such as hypnosis, telepathy, etc. Mostly the things M covers on this show.
So I guess I have a degree by now. No?
What is that? 10,000 hours, Malcolm Gladwell. Like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, I at
deserve an
least have my
honorary-
associates. There's no way.
At least. So back in Michigan, when he'd spent a year abroad in Germany, he came back to Michigan and switched majors again. Saoirse put in here supposedly at least a dozen times. That's how.
Sorry,
often
say
he
that again?
switched. A dozen times he has switched his major.
ADHD, my friend. I gotta be honest.
Just all over the place. And his class credits covered hugely varying subjects. So at one point, he quit college and went on some adventures, traveling a lot, returning to Germany for a bit. He was back in Michigan again in early 1978 when he decided it was time to go on a solo adventure. He decides he wants to go cross-country skiing alone on Lake Michigan.
I don't know about
Now, yeah, this is where I think we all both diverge from this guy. Because
like, have fun, dude.
It's. I would be like, did you know it's really cold out there?
I'd be like,
did you know
alone?
that? Alone?
I'd be like, my feet hurt just thinking about putting them in boots. Absolutely
I
not.
have a bunion. You want me to go cross country skiing?
Which means one day I'll have two.
Oh no!
Say
I
it
don't
ain't
have
so.
time. Say it ain't so. Put my Dr. Scholl's bunion corrector on and let me watch Grim Adventures of whatever the hell. Okay. So anyway, back in Michigan, he decides he's going on this solo adventure to go cross-country skiing, which, by the way, have you ever gone cross-country skiing?
I think you know the answer to that. It's
Okay.
a firm fucking no.
Listen, sometimes you and I are full of surprises that we've never known about each other. So, as I told you recently, in an old episode, you claimed to have run 5 miles a day. So I don't know if you were some
that was
past
another
Olympian.
time. That was another time. Okay.
Exactly. That's why I thought I'd ask. Maybe I'm
And
open to.
What do you know the difference between like just skiing
Yes.
and cross country skiing?
Yes.
What is the
Ask
difference?
me if I've ever gone cross country skiing.
I don't even want to hear the yes. But Christine, have you ever gone cross country skiing?
I have not, but
Oh,
I was very close to it many times because my dad and stepmom tried everything in their power to get me to go cross country skiing as a kid. And I was like, I won't do that. I will not participate. Like, I will go skiing down a hill.
what's the
Cross-country
difference?
So cross country skiing is like you're skiing on like flat, like you're like pushing yourself
you're
along in the
walking?
snow. But like on little skis. And so you're like it's hard work. Like it's really, really, really tough because you're not going just downhill like gravity, right? You're going over the meadow and through the woods.
So it's like ice skating but with skis.
Yeah, but not fun and not fast, and it's difficult.
Is there like a goal to get to, or you're just like essentially
you're
like
literally
taking
just
a
like
fucking walk?
taking a walk like in the woods. Like my family used to go cross country skiing like out in the woods and would just like shuffle along, and I was like, why would you ever do this?
Why would you make walking harder? It's already not fun.
Yeah, if it's like where you have to like use your legs to like really move. Like, you know, you're not just like going down a slope where gravity will help you. You have to kind of like really use your, it's a lot of work. And I was like, I'm not interested in that.
I would like to find, I don't even actually care to find anybody who would be able to tell me what the fun in that is. I don't care.
Like there are people who do
so
it like
boring.
on Olympic level and stuff. It's just, it's a lot of strength. You need a lot of, it's too much. I don't have any of that desire or will or strength.
That's a no can do for me. That's a
not happening.
At least and like downhill, I don't have to do anything. You just
that's exactly it. At least downhill, they can put me in a little chairlift and carry me back up. Like I don't
put me in a stretcher and take me all the way home.
You're getting home flat one way or another, or at least on your butt. Yeah. I even have some of those old like snowshoes, like the those like crazy snowshoes.
The tennis rackets?
Yeah. So
is that anyway. Wait, hang on. So then what's the difference between snowshoeing and cross country skiing?
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of snowshoeing.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine? I've just gotten like blasted on the internet.
I mean, they sound like the same thing, but you use different shoes.
It perhaps, because I feel like it's pretty similar concept. Oh man, now I need to figure out. Okay, this website says snowshoeing and cross-country skiing both stimulate our minds, bodies, and souls. I'm like, that's not helpful to me at all.
And it's also wrong. Hang on.
It's also a fucking lie.
Stimulate my soul? Please explain. Okay, hang on. What is cross-country skiing?
Yeah, cross-country skiing is more difficult to learn, is more athletic and rigorous. Snowshoeing
also seems not fun.
Yeah, I think that's
you're walking without being able to use your ankles.
Yeah, I think that's more like just for funsies. So maybe I'm not thinking of cross-country skiing through the woods at my house. I think I'm thinking of snowshoeing through the woods at my house.
No matter what, it sounds like the same level of entertainment. So
yeah, I feel like I don't want to participate in either one. So you know what? I apologize for the confusion, everyone.
We still didn't really even answer it, but let's just keep it that way.
I mean, honestly, I'm sure some people are like screaming at me. I apologize. I don't know the difference. I just know my stepmom does both of them, and I refuse to do either of them. So,
Fair enough.
Here we are.
Fair enough. Okay, so he wants to go cross-country skiing by himself on Lake Michigan. Alone.
Right.
Okay.
Alone. And so it was February at this point, and much of the lake was covered in a thick layer of ice. Now, this is a note that Saoirse put in, which I was very grateful for, because I don't think I realized the extent of my lack of knowledge on the topic of the Great Lakes. Do you know much at all about the Great Lakes? Because I have a lot of fun facts.
I know there's 5, 7.
Well,
7.
that's not one of my fun facts.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, let me teach you all there is to know. There are 5 Great Lakes.
I don't even know. Oh, there are 5.
Yes, but then whatever. I don't know. I'm not going to answer any more questions. Okay.
Okay.
Q&A over. So
there's Lake Superior. There's Lake Erie.
Oh, no.
I don't even know.
Yeah, those are true. Those are both true.
5 Great Lakes.
There's a Huron, I think, right?
Yeah, and then there's Ontario and Michigan.
Okay.
I think it spells Holmes. Isn't that what it was?
Oh, yeah, that sounds right.
Okay. Anyway, that's if you want to know the extent of my knowledge. That
Huron, Ontario, Michigan,
fun fact.
Erie, and what's the S one?
Superior.
Wow. Okay, so anyway, I have some more fun facts for you here.
I could use more than half of one. That'd be great.
More than one wrong fun fact. Okay, got it. So the Great Lakes region actually experiences some of the most extreme weather conditions in the entire world. Okay.
Okay.
Several cities along the lakes rank among the coldest cities in the United States, with temperatures plummeting to record lows like negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit, which, another fun fact, is actually the same in Celsius, negative 40.
Oh, that is a fun fact.
Right? Also, the Great Lakes are fucking huge. Lake Superior, for example, contains 10% of all surface freshwater on Earth.
Holy shit.
Right?
I still don't even know what that means. My brain can't process that.
Wow. It sounds like a lot. So the lake sizes and depths create conditions for unique climates and weather phenomena like the lake effect. And the lake effect, if you're not from around this area, which I am a couple hours away, so I definitely know about it, but it generates enormous clouds that carry severe weather inland, creating the snow belt. Yeah, the snow belt is the reason I will never, ever, ever live in Cleveland, nor will I understand people who live there. It is a cool town. Love that for you. It's too cold. That and Buffalo, I'm like, those are like such extreme cold and snow, and I just want nothing to do with it.
Fair enough.
They're in the snow belt. So anyway, this is basically a multi-state area in the path of the lake effect with the snow belt, which gets pummeled by snowstorms blown inland from the lakes. So, for example, in 2001, Montague, New York, near Lake Ontario, in 6 days got 10.5 feet of snow.
Holy shit.
That's outrageous. And that's not even a record in the area. So it's just like another fucking day, you know?
Wild.
Lake Michigan also creates something that I'd never heard of called pneumonia fronts. Yikes.
Nope. Don't know what that is.
I don't want to know. A rare phenomenon where temperatures near the lake suddenly drop dramatically in under an hour. So I think when I researched it, it said the temperature can drop more than 16 degrees in 1 hour.
Oh my God.
Like, think about that. It's like it's 50 degrees out, and then like a few minutes later, it's massively dropping. So pneumonia fronts are a phenomenon that happen here, and it reminded me of a phenomenon we learned when we were in Salt Lake City, or we're supposed to be in Salt Lake City, called a bomb cyclone, and everyone in the area was like, oh yeah, another bomb cyclone, and we were like, I'm sorry, what are you saying?
Never heard that word in my life. I was
like,
the fact that those are two bad words, and then they're put together, and everyone was like, whatever, and I was like, we have to be on a plane.
Why are you making that face? And I was like, okay, I'm the idiot, I guess.
Imagine if I just called it like a fucking, I don't know, grenade hurricane, and everyone's like, whatever.
There's a Scythe earthquake.
What happened?
I was trying to come up with another weather phenomenon with the word scythe. And I couldn't think of it.
Scythe tsunami.
A Scythe tsunami. That's it. That's the one. Interestingly enough, my next bullet is about ice tsunamis. So you're pretty fucking close.
Wow. Look at me go.
So this area literally has something called pneumonia fronts, ice tsunamis. I mean, it's just why? Like, no, I don't like any of it. So these pneumonia fronts come in. They also experience ice tsunamis, which are also called ice shoves. And what happens is that extreme winds push enormous sheets of ice and boulders inward onto land that can destroy houses.
Nope.
Like, they just bring a fucking bowling ball of snow in and just pummel your house down. Okay, this is like normal life up there. Are you guys okay up there? I feel like this is just all so bad.
It sounds, I don't imagine. Okay, so I know when I lived in Virginia, which does not compare to any of this shit, we had like random snow days. And like now in California, a lot of kids get fire days, which was new to me. I didn't know about that shit until I got here. And now I'm wondering, like, how many different types of days do the kids have over there?
And they probably don't get any fucking snow days. They're like, oh, come on. Unless there's a pneumonia front coming through.
They're the only kids who I think like can say that they actually like walked uphill both ways in an avalanche or something, and I have to believe them.
And they had to wear snowshoes because how the fuck else would you get uphill both ways?
That's how they're also good at the cross country skiing.
I'm understanding now.
It's
okay.
just actually self-preservation. It's survival, not fun.
And I'm sorry I hated on everyone who cross-country skis. I think, you know what? I do, as I get older, as I age and my bunions get worse, I do appreciate the like aesthetic or the experience of an outdoor nature walk in the evening. Like I get it now. When I was little, I was like, no, don't ever make me leave the house. But I can understand the enjoyment of like walking outside.
I'm not there yet, but I can't wait. I can't wait for the day.
It's more of a theoretical thing, right? Like, will I go do it? Probably not.
You know what? So far, I'm cool with hang on. Let me be specific. I'm cool with sitting on the front porch with a cup of tea, watching.
That's nice.
Watching something for maximum 20 minutes to a half an hour.
Yeah.
But I wanted to be specific because sitting outside implies that I'm cool with picnics, and I fucking hate a picnic.
No.
I don't want that. No. Don't even try to. Let's go. Leave our comfy couch and sit in dirt. No, thank you. But
we can eat snacks right here. Okay.
It's like the fridge and air conditioning is here. Why on earth would I go into a hot space where I have to change clothes to do
With
it and then
ants?
sit on the grass? Yes. And what if it's wet outside and now I'm in a mud puddle?
No, literally you sit down, then you're like, shit, I have to pee. Well, sucks for you.
Sucks for you. Now you have to wait because God forbid you get into your car, you have to load everything back, you have to drive all the way home, you have to find the No. But I like sitting on a porch during a rainstorm. That's as far as we've gotten.
Oh.
That's as far as we've gotten. Maybe a bonfire. Love a bonfire.
Think about a screened-in porch on a summer storm night.
Oh.
Yeah. That's
But
me.
to go outside just to move my body, no.
Yes.
No.
I get it. As someone who's been trying to really work on ways to like habits to like better my experience of the world, I've been trying to go on a little more walks, like even with Geo, just like around the block. And I'm like, I can see how that is refreshing and whatever, even if you don't want to do it. But not when it's fucking 2 degrees out or negative 40 for that matter. So in any case, this is a very unique and fascinating place to live. And I mean, if you live there and you love it, like fucking more power to you. Okay. I'm not hating on you at all. Like I'm so impressed when people like, I can't even think of living in California anymore because I have just such a fear of earthquakes. But like, it's a great place to live. I'm not shitting on the area in general. I'm just saying not for me. So in any case, it's wild to live there. It's like very unique, very intense, obviously, very extreme weather conditions sometimes. So, he decides he's going to go do this cross-country skiing on the Great Lakes on Lake Michigan. Now, there are actually indigenous peoples who lived in the area, the Anishinaabe, and they have ice fished on the lakes for a very long time. And that's, they were clearly able to make the area work for them. And, ice fishing I always found really fascinating. And today, approximately 600,000 people live along the lakes in the U.S. and Canada. So they must love it, okay? Listen.
They're eating it up over there. Not me, though.
They're loving it, and I'm happy for them, okay? That's all I'll say. Steven was basically just one more person in a very long line to decide to venture out onto the ice in February of 1978. But Steven didn't come home from his multi-day trek. And his family, of course, understandably got worried and raised the alarm. On February 20th, he was reported missing. And authorities pretty immediately launched an exhaustive search and rescue effort to track Steven down, especially obviously knowing February in that area can be extremely dangerous and every second counts to finding somebody. And in one of the police reports, as they're trying to track him down, one friend interestingly said, oh, Steven had a couple girlfriends in Europe. Maybe he went over to Europe and just forgot to tell anybody. But that didn't end up being the case. But
okay.
Saoirse put a funny note that's like, I guess it would be a fun way to be remembered that you had 3 European girlfriends.
Right.
At least that got in the news, right? Like,
at least it was like 3. Everyone kind of high-fived for a second there.
They're like, oh, hell yeah, bud. So that didn't end up being the case. But anyway, searchers scoured the frozen lake on foot, by snowmobile, even by helicopter. And of course, their own safety was at risk. The ice was covered in snow, which means that hazards like thin ice, cracks, holes, and deep crevasses were not able to be seen. So you wouldn't know if you were walking over a patch that could crack right underneath you. According to post-colonial ice records that started in the mid-19th century, Lake Michigan is actually, another fun fact, the only lake of the 5 Great Lakes that has not frozen over completely.
Ever?
At least since the mid-19th century that we know of.
Wow. Huh.
So it has gotten close, but it's never hit 100% surface ice, which means there are places to fall into the freezing water, which could be fatal, obviously, especially if you're by yourself. So hope faded as time went on with no sign of Steven, and a few days went by and his family started to fear the worst, and that is when the searchers discovered his skis and poles abandoned on the ice. Now, his skis were set up in sort of like a cross motion, like he had stuck them in the snow and hung his backpack on top of them.
Okay.
And shortly after that, they found his backpack nearby as well. And it was a total mystery as to why he would abandon his equipment. But they did see a trail of footprints. So there was a 200-yard trail of footprints in the snow, which stopped suddenly as if he had just vanished into thin air. There were no other prints, so it was hard to consider foul play, like that somebody kind of came up at him or was walking with him.
Or like an animal chased him.
Oh, right, yeah, or an animal got to him, exactly. And so with no answers, authorities decided that the most likely scenario was that Steven had walked away from his gear to investigate something and then fallen into a crevasse and drowned beneath the ice. And it wouldn't be the first time. It's a really dangerous area. And again, you're going solo, you know. So they thought that must be what happened. And with the way, even though they couldn't see, you know, cracked ice can move on the lake, especially over days, over time. And perhaps there was an opening he fell into that had shifted and was not visible anymore. So with that kind of being the conclusion, Steven was officially declared dead in a tragic accident at just 23 years old. They closed the case. Newspapers reported on it. All further searches were called off, and his family began to grieve. It was a total shock to everyone who knew him. Hope College held a memorial service for Steven's fellow students to mourn him, and the school granted him an honorary diploma. His friends and family tried to grieve and move on, but they faced that same issue that we see a lot with missing persons cases, where there's just not that closure of being able to bury a body or being able to say goodbye one last time, or, you know, or at least just know what happened. It's sort of like this big hanging question mark, and they had to live with that. They couldn't figure out, why did Steven abandon his equipment and walk away? Like, what would he have been looking at to take off his skis and wander in a different direction without his backpack? My thought was like, maybe he saw a cute bunny rabbit. I don't know. Like, I feel like
my thought was like, what if maybe he like wanted to go pee or something and he just like
that's fair.
Kind of dash off.
I guess you wouldn't have to like take off all your equipment though, right? Like your backpack. That's
true. Especially if you have a male body, you could
exactly
whip it out on the skis.
Like, I don't think you need to even like remove anything. But
what if he needed to go number 2?
Oh, okay, that's a good point, Em.
I wouldn't want to do that on skis.
No, I would, but just for shits and gigs, you know?
Literally for shits.
Literally just for the shits. No. I didn't think of that. That's a great point. So, like, maybe he had to go poop, okay? Maybe he saw a cute bunny rabbit is what I still think. And he was like, come here, bunny rabbit. Yeah. I don't know if he wanted to, like, eat it or something, but maybe, I don't know. There's a lot of reasons he might have kind of just wandered away for a minute and maybe could have fallen in, or who knows what. The other thing was, how did he end up under the ice when searchers didn't find any openings near his tracks and the snow was undisturbed by major ice shifts? But again, you know, could be explained that maybe it just so happened to be covered up in a way they couldn't see it. And also, Steven, as his family claimed, had the skills and experience to avoid such accidents. Like, he went on this trip solo, but not unprepared. He knew the dangers of it, and he was pretty well versed in this kind of a solo trek. So people thought, was it foul play? Was it suicide? There were just so many questions that his family had to live with because the case was closed. But others began considering it a cold missing persons case because they just could not accept the drowning explanation. Some people thought maybe this was like a cult thing. Maybe this was foul play. Somebody he met up with the wrong fellow snowshoer and got kidnapped, who knows. But there was no way to really find answers, and they may have been left wondering forever, except that on May 5th of 1979, which was 14 and a half months after Steven's disappearance, a driver picked up a hitchhiker who asked for a ride to the nearest payphone. And Steven's dad was at home in Massachusetts, about 700 miles from where his son had disappeared 15 months earlier, when he got a phone call from his son, Steven.
Oh,
who said,
what?
I'm alive.
What?
What the fuck?
So what happened?
Not only was he alive, he was right nearby in Massachusetts. Like, I think it was 40 miles from his dad's house.
Did he glitch in the Matrix? What the fuck happened?
Can you come pick me up? Yeah, he's like, can you come pick me up? So Steven was legally dead, like without question. It had been 15 months. He went missing on the ice. Case closed. His family was trying to move on. And then all of a sudden he just pops right back up, not only in their lives, but 40 miles away, like in town, like nearby in Massachusetts. And this is what happened. His father was like, where the hell have you been?
Yeah, what the fuck, dude? Like,
dude, you really scared the shit out of us.
Like,
okay?
the whole town grieved. Like, what is going on?
This was national news. So he asked his son, what have you been doing for over a year while everyone mourned you and had services and tried to move on? And Steven said, I have no idea.
He did glitch in the Matrix, didn't he? He had to have.
According to Steven, he could not remember anything from his absence. He had woken up in a field in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, and this was 720 miles from where he had been skiing.
What?
He had been skiing in Michigan, and he woke up 720 miles 15 months later in a field in Pittston, Massachusetts, 720 miles away.
And do we know when he woke up, did he know how much time had passed, or did he think like a day went by?
He did not. He thought it was only a matter of hours or days. He had to find a newspaper to tell him the year.
This guy fully was abducted by aliens.
Is this not so nuts?
I mean, he was standing, everything looked fine, standing in the middle of a field. Your footsteps all of a sudden go missing in the snow, and then you show up in a random field. Is that not aliens?
Right? 15 months later. And the other weird thing was that he showed up in a 720 miles away from where he went missing, but really close by to his aunt's house, which is also odd. It's like, maybe did he know?
He remembered something about an address. Yeah.
Yeah, like did he recognize the area? But also, he woke up in a meadow, which is so random. Like he didn't wake up on a bus, on a bus bench or like in a motel room. Like he woke up in the middle of a field, which is so weird. But there's a little bit more to this, which they're clues, but honestly, in my opinion, they just add more questions than they answer. But in any case, what he told his family was that his memory ended on Lake Michigan 15 months ago and then began again when he woke up in a meadow in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, about 40 miles from his dad's house. He was wearing clothes he'd never seen before.
Oh, what?
Yeah. And he had a backpack that he did not recognize.
It's almost like the aliens black-eyed kids him, and like they were like, I don't know, you had something that looked like this. Let's just put it back on you. And it was just like pulled from a wardrobe of other abductees.
Yeah, and this one was like Paw Patrol, and he's like, wait, my backpack? My backpack was SpongeBob, you assholes. Where's this Paw Patrol backpack come from? So yeah, he wakes up with this backpack he's never seen before. And inside the backpack is a random series of maps that he did not remember owning, as well as some hitchhiking signs, essentially like where he would write the names of different towns. He said, presumably I was hitchhiking. Like, it said like Salt Lake City, like, and he would stand along the side of the road in the 70s and get a ride. So the maps included Sacramento, San Francisco, Reno, Nevada, Chicago, and the state of Utah.
What?
And
And so if he
it
was
basically insinuated that's where he had been traveling.
And if he was hitchhiking to those locations, someone knew who he was if they were giving him rides.
Or somebody, yeah, like you mean somebody had met him. Like somebody would have had
in a year
FaceTime
and a
with him.
half, he had to have talked to somebody.
Or at least made some acquaintances. Yeah, you'd think so. So very, very odd. In addition to these maps, he also had $40 in cash, new glasses, which I'd like to know if those glasses were the same prescription as his old ones, because I'm curious about that. Sneakers and a T-shirt from a marathon in Wisconsin.
First of all, there's nothing I would try to forget harder than running a marathon. But like, if I had a shirt from a marathon, that's the first thing I'd be telling everyone about. There's no forgetting that. I wonder if I don't know. My very, very first thought in the beginning of all this was like, could he just be like faking it to like get out of like getting in trouble for being gone for that long?
That's definitely a major theory.
But also, like, I mean, there were no security cameras back then, no like CCTV to like track him, because otherwise it'd be like, where did the skis go? Do we know where the skis went?
So he didn't have any skis on him. So those were just the ones that they had found. Remember, after he disappeared, they found his skis and backpack. So they had those in their possession, the police, or maybe they had given it to the family by then. But on your note of like no security cameras and it's hard to follow up on things, people actually went to, I think his mother, I believe, hired a private investigator to look into this. And the private investigator went to that marathon's
and asked for the roster or something.
Planning group and asked for the roster. And so I was listening to a podcast called Red Web, which I'd never heard of. And basically their name is like the red string. Like they cover like online like conspiracies and fun things like that. It was actually a very fun show. I can't believe I've never heard of it. But they covered this case and they brought up some really interesting questions, like, going to the marathon, asking for the name. But then they also made a point of like, if he was in some sort of fugue state, like maybe he signed up with a different name. And then one of the other hosts was like, well, then maybe they should go through and find whose name doesn't match any real person. Maybe that's the person that signed up as him. But also then another host made a good point of, well, it was the 70s. You probably could just walk up and be like, I want to be in this marathon. And
right.
Who knows? Like, it's like, I don't think things were as strictly monitored in the 70s as they are nowadays. Like, you could probably just join a marathon and get a T-shirt back then.
And also probably back in the 70s, I don't know if they were really keeping rosters after the day of. Wouldn't they just throw that thing away? Be like,
yeah. Well, and they did have the roster and they did give it to them, but like his name was not on there. Like his legal
Did they show
name.
his pic? I don't know how in depth this investigator was allowed to be, but I wonder if how many people were on the roster and could he show each of them a picture of the guy and like, oh, does he look familiar to you?
That's a great question. There's so many things where I'm like, man, I wish somebody would have asked this or that or the other. And I don't know if they did ask, but I don't have the answers. Because that's a great idea. Like to ask the people who participated, like, hey, do you recognize this guy? Or the people who are doing signups,
And also his to do a marathon, it's not like he was kidnapped and then taken hostage. Like it sounds like he really was just living life. Like it's
yeah, a marathon's not something that you're usually forced to do in a show like, I don't know, 48 hours. I've never watched that show. But like one of these like crime shows, like running a marathon seems like torture, but in a different way than being abducted,
It does seem like he was just kind of still had free will and just no awareness, but he clearly had enough awareness. It reminds me kind of like, did he maybe he previously fell somewhere on the mountain and no one paid attention, like him hitting his head on a rock. And then maybe he had that situation where that one guy walked around before he died and like he was like doing dishes and shit, like with a major head injury and nobody noticed.
Yeah.
But like it sounds like he, you know what I mean?
Well, that's interesting you say that because one of actually Steven's own theories has been perhaps he fell through the ice and his body went into a state of shock and like elicited some sort of fugue state. And like he went into such shock that he wandered off. I mean, and perhaps another thing the Red Web podcast mentioned too is like maybe, with hypothermia, where you kind of enter this state of being so hot that you strip your clothes off. Like perhaps he was taking his clothes off. He needed clothes. He found this t-shirt, this marathon t-shirt at like a thrift store. It's so unclear like how he ended up with it. But there is another little caveat to that, interestingly, because you said like, oh, well, you don't usually just run a marathon, like out of the blue. And that's exactly the point. So here, he did I think like one interview ever on this one.
Wow.
And it was the week he was found. And this is the rare interview I found. So I went on newspapers.com and searched for this. And this is from 1979. It's the Waterville, Maine Morning Sentinel. And the article says, I have some really vague feelings, Steven Kubacki, 24, said in a telephone interview Sunday from his father's home here. I have some running shoes. I feel like I've done a lot of running. I also have a marathon t-shirt from Wisconsin. I don't know how I got it. So he feels like he's been doing a lot of running, which seems like, what does that mean? But also,
what a weird thing to say. But I guess maybe you can, like, your body feels sore. Or
Saoirse was like, maybe sore calves. So I was like, but my thought actually was like, maybe he has like some subconscious memories. Like, oh, I remember like running shoes. I remember running a lot.
Or my thought would even be like, as the person who used to run 5 miles a day, like you, when you do get into running,
stamina.
When you do get into running, like it becomes muscle memory very quickly. So maybe he tried running recently, and then he was like, "Oh, I'm like much better at this than I remember." And it was
yeah. That's what. And then the Red Web folks were like, they should do a test, like time him, see if his strength has improved. Like I don't know. And they said he did lose 3 pounds in the time he was gone, maybe from running. I don't know. But his memory, he says, I just have vague feelings, which is kind of creepy. I have vague feelings that I've done a lot of running, which is like, ooh, it's kind of creepy.
That's so weird that like he can almost tap into his subconscious.
Right? I want him to do a hypnosis, like a regression. Yeah. He said the last thing he remembered was feeling cold and scared of being lost.
Oh.
And that's the last thing he remembers before waking up in the grass. And
so maybe that's what he also took all of his equipment off for. Maybe he just needed to like stand somewhere and try to figure out where north was or something.
Yes, yeah. And somebody they also said that, maybe he wandered off to get his bearings. Like he was lost. He was afraid of getting lost, wandered off to get his bearings. Maybe could he see Chicago from where he was standing? Like could he orient himself? And maybe he fell, maybe he hit his head, maybe he fell into the water. And his body went through shock, and
this sounds
survived.
Really stupid, but like, what was that other case we covered where like all of a sudden a fucking owl was involved? Like, is there
the staircase?
Like, could a vulture or something have grabbed him?
This is so weird. The Red Web literally brought up the staircase, and I went, "That's random." And then you just brought it up. With the owl.
I mean, if like a big ass bird just saw like one tiny little thing moving around by itself and without any defense, like could have picked him up as food and then dropped him and gave him a fucking head injury. Like, I
don't know if it would have been able to pick him up.
I feel like it could have at least gotten him to the top of a tree and then he fell or something. Like could have grabbed him for a second and then let go.
What is it, like a thunderbird? I don't think birds can pick people up.
I don't know. Birds are kind of freakishly strong.
Babies,
I don't know.
They can pick up, I think, but
I don't know. I have no idea. But my first thought was like, if it's not an alien abduction, which I'm not totally voting that out, like, but like if he's walking and then all of a sudden his feet just vanish, it's not even like there's signs of him falling or there's signs of him running in another way or signs of someone behind him or an animal. His feet just go away. Like that's the air, my friend. That's where you go. Like either a UFO beamed you up or a bird picked you up, but you couldn't go anywhere else unless you are Superman and you fly away.
Well, the thought was that he fell like into, the ice cracked underneath him.
I feel like I'd like to see the actual footprints, because what
I
I'm
know.
envisioning is perfectly clear shoe prints, and like
Yeah,
in
I
which
think
case
it's a
it doesn't.
little more blurred than that. I don't think it's necessarily like a very, but I don't know because I don't have photos of it and I'm not really clear on how the footprints, like
He
how
could.
abruptly they stopped.
I mean, like you say, it could have been a crevice and like he fell, but maybe caught himself, but hit his head on the way down, so he was able to physically get
Yeah.
himself down, but the damage had already been done to his brain.
Yeah. 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 And
It's
like
either
a few.
it's either a head injury, like guaranteed in my head, it's either a head injury, aliens, or a big ass bird. It's one of those three. There's no other option.
I think you're the first person to bring big ass bird into it, but I love it. So he said the last thing he remembered was feeling cold and being scared of getting lost in the frozen darkness. And then the article goes on. I was lying on the grass in a meadow when I woke up, Kubacki said. I didn't know where I was. I was wearing clothes that weren't mine. I started going through a pack, which I assumed was mine, and I found maps. I would guess I was hitchhiking. I didn't know what the date was until I walked into town and got a newspaper. So totally like just erased his memory. A newspaper published a heartwarming photo of Steven beaming as he embraced his father with a tagline reading "Reunited." Obviously, the entire county or country wanted answers. You know, had Steven escaped kidnappers, a cult? Was he a fugitive? Was it a hoax? Like, what was going on? Was it aliens? Ancient alien theorists say yes, it was. Steven unfortunately had no answers. He insisted again and again he did not remember a single thing from the previous 15 months. So reporters seem to think if they just had a little time with Steven, they could get a little more insight, crack him a little bit. People suggested he go see a psychologist, but he said there was no point. He was totally sound of mind. Sure, he was missing 15 months of his life, but he's fine. He's thinking clearly. He was not interested in seeing a psychiatric professional, so he did not. He also said, you know what? I have no more information than you do about where I was. So sorry, there's nothing to crack. And he shut down any further interviews or conversation. So that kind of does take away, it's frustrating, but it does take away the like skeptical side of he's doing this for attention or something to like, because clearly he was not participating in any of the interviews.
Right.
So Kubacki told a reporter that he believed his blackout was caused by exhaustion and exposure, and that he would see a doctor for that, but he would not seek any psychiatric health. And in one quote, he said, "My father was going to sign over the house to me. I had 3 courses at school and no trouble. I left a romance in Germany. There was no trouble with girls. I had a job lined up with the Holland Sentinel newspaper." That was kind of his explanation of like, I didn't run away on purpose, you know?
Right, like I had things going for me.
Yeah, exactly. So
imagine the girlfriend finding out that he's still alive after 15 months and is like probably already moved on.
Yeah, but apparently he had 3 of them, so I'm sure
he's fine.
He's fine. So Kubacki ended up not taking that job, but he actually had been awarded a bachelor's degree in absentia from Hope College because he had vanished and they had given him like an honorary degree.
Oh.
Thinking he was dead.
It's like in memoriam degree.
Yeah. And so apparently, this is pretty wild, but it's kind of just a side note, fun fact. Apparently, even the detectives who investigated his disappearance had doubts that he had actually drowned from the start. And so they actually sent his dental records to Chicago to see if Kubacki might be among one of John Wayne Gacy's unidentified victims.
Holy shit.
And like, obviously he was not, but apparently the way that this scene had been like left was so unusual, as you kind of mentioned with the footprints, that they thought maybe he ended up as like the unwitting victim of John Wayne Gacy. You know, that's how confusing this all was. So as you can probably guess, he became extremely overwhelmed by the attention. Steven declined all further interviews, and after a few days of national coverage, the press sort of gave up and Steven's story lost momentum and people simply moved on. Like I said, he'd been given that honorary diploma when he was missing, and apparently the dean's first inclination was to let him keep his diploma, but then they took it back and said, "No, you didn't earn it."
That's so fucked up. It's like, you haven't been through enough, so.
They said, you have to it's up to you. They said you don't have to do anything, but it's up to you if you want to finish your degree.
Oh my God,
And
that's so mean.
to be fair, he only had a couple courses left. He had enough credits to graduate in 1979 with a bachelor's degree in German studies, and that was the only one he had enough credits to, because he had switched so much. So he just went with it. And a few years later, he earned an MA in linguistics at Ohio University. Then he attended a PhD clinical psychology program in New Mexico, where he studied philosophy and psychoanalysis as a Fulbright fellow in Germany.
Wow.
And then, became a doctor, like a psychiatric doctor, a psychiatrist, and eventually a professor and a psychology department chair. So, like, and he apparently has said, yes, I recognize the irony in this, that I refused to go see a psychiatrist in the 70s. And now here I am. Yeah. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And, Steven has led quite an impressive career academically in varied disciplines, but he continues to be most famous, not for his accomplishments, but for his crazy disappearance. Although his story has faded away, and, it happened in a time before internet forums, it has since popped up in unexpected places. And this, I would like you to imagine being in class and this happening to you. He's in grad school, he's in a psych class, and he opens up an abnormal psychology textbook and on a chapter on amnesia and sees himself in the textbook. So, like, it's got to be really trippy.
Yeah.
And Steven, who's now, of course, an expert in the subject, said, "It is not ethical or professional to diagnose somebody at a distance." So I agree. Like, they shouldn't have said he had amnesia, this is what he had, and we put it in the book. Like, he was not diagnosed. He never went to a professional. So I do find, I agree with him that it's not really quite okay. But then, of course, the internet came around and the story started popping up on conspiracy forums. People suggested Steven was a victim of something I wonder if you've heard about called the Michigan Triangle. No? Okay, so it's basically the Great Lakes version of the Bermuda Triangle, and I wrote, please cover this. Because just on the basics of what I heard, like, overview, like, missing ships, strange disappearances, airplanes vanishing. I mean, very Bermuda Triangle, but, like, in the Great Lakes area.
Okay,
So
cool. Definitely,
I would love to hear about that, because you've done the Bridgewater Triangle.
Yes.
Interestingly, we should check if the place he woke up was in the Bridgewater Triangle.
Ooh.
Because it was in Massachusetts.
Interesting. Maybe a little puckwudgie picked him up and carried him away.
Aww. You know how they, like, maybe they all carried him, like a whole...
Yeah.
They just,
one little,
like, Gulliver's Travels.
One finger at a time, they all got him.
Puckwudgie Crossing, Bridgewater Triangle, and what's the town? Pittsfield, Massachusetts. Oh, no, I don't think it's in there. Well, I tried. If you guys know, let me know.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, wait, maybe it is. Listen, if I just cracked something open, you just let me know, everybody.
Wide open, everybody.
Wide open. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
I think
I'm going to say yes.
It is.
I'm going to say yes with absolutely
Ancient
no
alien
certainty.
theorists and M say yes.
Yeah.
So, speaking of ancient aliens, he was featured in an episode of Ancient Aliens that I watched last night.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they barely mentioned him. I watched the entire hour-long program and was like, am I mistaken? And then, like, after one commercial break, they were like, also, this guy disappeared one time. And it was like 30 seconds, and that was the extent of the mention. And he wasn't in it. It was just, like, his story. Like, I watched it to think, like, oh, maybe he talks as a talking head in this program.
Right,
but
someone just narrated it.
About him, yeah.
Got it.
So I did learn a lot about black holes that exist on Earth,
Ooh.
allegedly. So,
Got it. I'm on it.
Worth the watch. Okay, so others began leaning more toward natural explanations, because everyone else is saying alien abductions, portals to other dimensions, black holes is the ancient alien theory, accidental time travel. But some people said, maybe this is a true crime story. People have considered cults, mafia ties. I mean, clearly the police were considering John Wayne Gacy.
Yeah.
Some thought maybe PTSD-induced amnesia from a traumatic event like an attack or a kidnapping. But either way, meanwhile, Steven continues to thrive in his career as a clinical psychologist, and he is one of the most notorious missing persons cases in history. He's not even missing. Like, that's the craziest part. He's back.
And
it's so frustrating because he's back, but we still don't know what happened, which is like, oh man.
I don't know. I feel like part of me feels like maybe there is something true crime, or again, aliens, because for him to have feelers like, oh, I think I was running, I think I've been blah blah blah, and for him to be like, I don't want to know the rest of what happened.
Yeah, it's like he shut it down.
It's like he knows. I don't know if this is true, but it feels like if he could kind of have little moments like that where he has his feelers
like
on.
An inkling.
It sounds like he knows something really traumatic happened and he does not want to face it.
Yes, that's a really good point. He's like, I have these vague recollections, but like, I don't want to go to see a psychiatrist.
He's literally like the department chair and a doctor of psychology. Like, he knows how incredibly useful that science can be, and he still wants nothing to do with it. His whole the industry, the field he's in, he does not want to partake in it.
Well, just wait.
What?
There have been recent updates. I know. And these updates have occurred since most of the sources that, I've watched and read about. So this is pretty new. All right. So in any case, he's a clinical psychologist. He's become this notorious missing persons case. For a long time, he said he ignored all of the internet era media about him, but he started working with an author named Dylan Quarles, who hosts the Missing Enigma Missing Persons Investigations. And when they linked up, Steven was floored by the interest in his case. He told Dylan in an interview, I was actually amazed how much was out there. I couldn't believe it was out there. According to Steven's website, the hashtag Steven Kubacki has been viewed more than 2.3 million times on TikTok, and more than 6.5 million viewers have watched the many YouTube videos featuring Steven's story. So for decades, Steven maintained that he had no memory of what happened in those 15 months, and the world was left to speculate. But recently, Steven has announced that he plans to release a book about his disappearance. In fact, he says he has recovered his memory from that time.
Oh.
He says his story involves the following.
Oh my God. Is it all of them? Is it Big Ass Bird? Is it Big Ass Bird, aliens, his head, everything?
What if it's just the following? One big ass bird.
Yeah. Well, then I'd say, yeah, we knew, dude. We knew.
He said the story involves hallucinogenic drugs, a revolutionary organization, a terrorist in training, spiritual experiences, alternate realities, and the French Foreign Legion. And now I have a quote from Saoirse where I guffawed. I laughed out loud because Saoirse wrote in its own bullet, what that could possibly mean is anyone's guess.
Yeah, right.
And then I put, quote, Saoirse. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
So I actually have had another theory that I mean, it's just like such a, like a flippant. I didn't even say it because I thought that it would have been canceled out. But my other thought, besides like bird or aliens, on how his feet just left, my thought is like, what if like a helicopter picked him up? And I know that's stupid, but they would have had like evidence of like if a helicopter was in the area, or people would have been able to say like, oh, I dropped down a ladder for him. But like but if we're talking like terrorist in training, maybe it was like a spy mission and he Mission Impossibled up. Or terrorist in training, maybe someone did fly up around and like he got like pushed into the crevice and then they flew away. I don't know. But I did think helicopter for a second, but I feel like that could have easily been, figured out. But
I'm thinking helicopter, but wouldn't the helicopter blow the snow over his footprints away?
Not if the helicopter was really up there and someone on one of those fallout ladders climbed down.
I think even with a fallout ladder,
you think,
isn't there still quite a bit of, I mean, maybe not.
I mean, you know me and all my helicopter experience.
That's true. I should be bowing down to your knowledge. I don't know why I'm second guessing you at all.
Okay, so
Yeah,
hold on, can you run through that again? There was
I would love nothing more.
okay, and I will say drugs sounds obvious. That feels
Check.
clear to me. Okay.
Check. I think we all kind of thought in the back of our mind that was a possibility.
Sure.
Hallucinogenic drugs, a revolutionary organization, a
Okay.
terrorist in training, spiritual experiences, alternate realities, and the French Foreign Legion.
So spiritual realities?
Spiritual experiences and alternate realities.
Both of those also feel like they could just be drugs.
Exactly. I was going to say a lot of that sounds like it could be lumped in with hallucinogens.
Like, it sounds like he was just, I mean, it was also the 70s. He could have just been on acid, you know, like, and had thought he went to an alternate realm and had, even today, a bunch of people, parentheses, men, take acid and they're like, my life has changed. But really,
I know the meaning of life.
Yeah, but really, they just like experience empathy for the first time.
Well, like, and I feel like if you take by accident, if you take, not ketamine, what is the
shrooms?
No, it's
Ketamine.
the one that people occasionally take too much of, and then like have like a psychotic break.
Ecstasy?
No. It's the one that starts with a D.
I don't know.
Okay.
Man, I took so much duh. Man, I was so fucked up on duh. I need more of that. Duh.
Eva, do you know?
Duh.
I need more of that D.
Need more of my. I literally can't think of a drug. I can't think of anything that starts with D.
Okay, sorry guys. Jack, you can delete all the.
You don't want that?
I mean, I do. I just don't know if anyone else wants it.
I really can't think of anything.
DMT. Sorry. Oh. DMT. So I've heard stories where people who have either been tricked into taking too much DMT or have been like accidentally dosed incorrectly, or who've taken just too much DMT, have had like breaks from reality that can last a very long time. Like very long time, like months. So, you know, perhaps he was on a drug and that would explain why he came back and he said, I don't want to talk about it. Because like probably doesn't want to talk about being on drugs in the woods. And
the drugs make sense for the memory, but the feet thing, I do think it's a big ass bird or an alien. I can't. I'm stuck on. Or maybe it was a combo of drugs. He fell, hit his head, and the drugs and the hitting his head at the same time really rattled something in there, and he couldn't remember for a long time.
Yeah, it could be that too. I'm looking up. Yeah, that's why people say like portals and all this. But I mean, I'm looking for any information on the footsteps, and I just can't get a better understanding of.
If I were an investigator, that would be the thing that keeps me up at night is those damn footsteps.
The footprints in the snow are like really confusing.
Feel like the memory part can so easily be explained for me either as a head injury or drugs. That part I'm like not even worried about. It's like, how the fuck did he get from the middle of the snowy field to nowhere?
No. It was, so that's the thing, is he was walking toward the edge of the lake.
Oh, right. And then he would have fallen in. Right.
So the weird part, it says, the weird part is, this is from ultimateunexplained.com. The weird part is the 200-yard set of footprints in the snow that led to the edge of the lake. The prints abruptly stop at the lake edge, which led authorities to the conclusion that Steven had fallen in the lake, got caught under the ice, and drowned. Like perhaps he had stepped onto the lake and it had cracked, you know?
Right.
So that I feel like could make some sense. Yeah, but still, I don't know. But as Saoirse said, what that could possibly mean is anyone's guess.
I guess we'll find out when the book comes out. But then also that makes me think, like, did he ever actually come up with I'm not trying to be one of those people, I swear to God. But the thought does linger for a second where I'm like, now that he knows that people are still talking about it, is this a money situation, you know?
I mean, you'd think maybe, but let me finish the bullet points because it gives a little more information.
Okay.
So this revelation has led some to speculate that Steven never lost his memory at all, and this was all just fraud. Like he just was, perpetrating fraud. But of course, others still hold on to theories about cults and domestic terrorism, especially with like the byline he gave. And the hints sound like there was definitely more crime involved than aliens or time travel, but unfortunately, we do not have a release date for the story because even though the book is finished, it has yet to be picked up by an agent. So
really?
we don't know when it'll be published, if it'll ever be published. But the name of the book is The Disappearance, quote, What Really Happened to One of History's Last Unexplained Mysteries. So that's that story. And, you know, I watched he finally did an interview. I think they said like his first interview in 45 years. But the YouTuber said they had a very strict rule that he could not he would not discuss what happened, like the disappearance and stuff. So the interviewer had to be very like tiptoeing around anything.
What do you even interview him about then? Like, isn't that what the interview would be about?
I don't know. I didn't watch the whole thing because it was right before we recorded when I found it. And it said here, Steve, it was on The Missing Enigma is the YouTube channel, but it gives more insight into him as a person and like his experiences in life in general. And the interview is with him and the author that is helping him write this book. So,
gotcha.
You know, if you're interested, you can go check that out. But I just don't know. It's just very weird.
You know, I think this is one of the first times that we've had, not one of the first times, but it's one of the only times, and that's why I drink history, where both of our stories were pretty lighthearted.
I was actually thinking that. I was like, when you started yours, and I was like, wow, this is kind of a weird, like they kind of hold hands and fit together.
What a fun little kid-friendly, and that's why we drink episode, I guess,
I know,
as I talk about
once.
the Grim Reaper.
Well, yeah. Who knew that would be the most lighthearted of all our shows?
I know. Wow, good story, Christine. You know I love a mystery, but you know I hate a mystery too.
I know, same here. But I do like a mystery where they say, guess what? Answers might be coming soon.
I do wish that his byline to his book was like the French Legion, the terrorist organization, and a big ass bird. I feel like
I know M's never gonna let go of that theory. You could probably prove to M in every scientific way that it's impossible, and M would be like, "Yeah, I see your point, but I'm pretty sure there was a big ass bird there."
I'd be like, his memory is still patchy. Like I know there was a bird there. Yeah,
it must be.
Oh, well, thank you everybody for listening to another episode of And That's Why We Drink. And if you'd like, for some reason, more of this, you can join Patreon and go check out our After Hours where we keep talking, but it's somehow less structured than this. So go ahead and do that. Also,
we'll probably discuss some alien stuff because I want to talk about this whole abduction. I'll probably Google whether a bird can pick up a person. So, you know, those questions and more will be answered.
We also should have mentioned at the beginning of this episode that we are on tour, or we're about to go on tour. So please go get tickets if we're in your area. We will be very close to every location we mentioned today. We'll be near a bunch of triangles. And and come see us.
Oh wait, why don't we'll look that up in the after hours. We'll look up the
if our live show is in a triangle.
Oh, yeah. If our live shows are in the triangle, but also if that Pitts whatever place is in that triangle.
Okay. And
that's
why
we
drink.